Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April the 4th Design Review. Get an echo. April 4th Design Review Board meeting. Reset. All right. We are still waiting for Chair Kim to arrive, but in the meantime, we will just go ahead and get started with roll call and a few of the first items before we get to this item's public hearing. So roll call, please.
Board Member Rosner,
Here.
Board Member Malat,
Here.
Vice Chair Chong,
Here.
Board Member Odoricio is absent. Chair Kim is on her way.
Thank you. Now on the agenda or any oral communications from the public for any items that are not on this evening's Design Review Board meeting. So if you have anything that you'd like to address the board that's not part of this evening's agenda, now would be your chance to do that. All right, seeing none, we'll go to the Zoom call. If you're on our virtual Zoom call, please use the raise hand feature at the bottom of the Zoom screen to let us know that you'd like to be let into the room to make any comments, again, for items not on this evening's agenda.
Vice Chair Chong, there's no oral communications from Zoom.
Thank you. And now we'll go to staff briefing.
Good evening. I'm actually virtual tonight, so I do not have video. So you get to just hear my voice. Next time I will be in the audience or actually be on staff table. I just wanted to make sure that for the public and for the Design Review Board, and I'm not sure anything happened since this time, we've had requests by the public to be able to give presentations on the screen, and we just don't have that capability. And so if anyone in the public has anything they want to distribute, they can certainly give it to you in a hard copy, but we don't have a way in which to upload all of the public comments for you to view them on the screen. So I just wanted to put that out to the public that we're not, we're really, it's really limited at this time this way. So I'm hoping that if there was anybody, because I know there was a request, that you did get some copies tonight. Otherwise, I have nothing more.
Thank you. And with that, we'll go to adoption of the minutes from the March 21st Design Review Board meeting. Is there any comments from either one of you on March 21st Design Review Board meeting?
No comments.
Okay. I was not at that meeting, so I'll abstain since we have enough for a vote. So a motion to adopt the minutes from the March 21st meeting. You're looking for motion.
Motion to adopt the minutes from the March 21st.
And do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, and abstaining, one. And with that, I will turn over the meeting to Chair Kim. If you can take your time, if you need a second to take a breather.
Sorry. Thanks. And so we've been through the minutes and now we're going to the public hearings and we're going to start off with PH1, 114 Lyford. And the procedures are that the applicant has 5 to 20 minutes and then 5 to 20 minutes, and then the Design Review Board will ask questions for the staff for the applicant. Public testimony, 3 minutes per each speaker. And then the applicant may respond to public comments or make closing statements. And that's a duration of 5 minutes. And then the DRB closes the public testimony period and deliberates amongst themselves. So if the applicant can come to the board, thank you.
Okay, that's for her, yeah.
Hard to see it in this light, but.
Okay. We'll change a bit.
Do we have a timer? Okay, great. Or it should be at 20 minutes. 1 second. Great, thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. I'm Bob Hamari, and this is our third design review board presentation after two first design review board meetings and study session or brainstorming session. We've listened to everybody's points of view and implemented the productive, positive points of view or directions that they've had or given us by implementing them in this latest version of our design, and understanding that everybody's looking for harmony on our hillside and we're all for it. Our proposed latest design is totally in line with all the rest of properties under development or developed on the hillside. And it's in keeping with the harmony of the hillside. In the last design review board, a few items came up, and one of them was that the board shouldn't be punitive towards us comparing to all the other properties on the hillside that you look at, and we're going to show it in the presentation, because they may have just, whatever way they've been designed historically, we don't want to be the ones to, and the board agreed that they shouldn't be punitive towards us. The board also mentioned the issue of views has been resolved. So in that direction, in this latest version of our design, we went ahead and added back the windows above the garage, which was an issue because of the bulkiness of the front of the house. We harmonized all the rest of the windows on the Lyford side. We lined them up, aligned them, although they're not visible from the street because they're hidden behind the trees. And they're really serving the utility spaces and all of that. We've added stone elements to the lower level terraced areas per design review board's suggestion to be harmonious with the ground around it and earth tone colors. We darkened the color of the exterior, all the elements, to darker versions, although we ourselves like the lighter versions better. We reduced the heights of the windows, again, per design review board suggestions, and we lowered the roof ridge. And then also I need to reemphasize that our expansion, proposed expansion, isn't visible anywhere on Lyford, from Lyford, and our lower level expansion, which is tucked under the deck and into the hillside, is not visible from anywhere. And few items were mentioned also in the last design review board, back and forth. They suggested that you cannot have one story on a hillside. Just need to emphasize, we are not in one story, we have 2 levels. Our house is at 2 levels, while the upper level neighbor's house is at 1 level. So that's one point to mention. And the other one is that 14 out of 19 neighbors have supported our project, and 4 of them haven't responded to our request for that. And then also worth mentioning that the staff has been very supportive of our project and have finally mentioned that we are in conformance with development standard RO2 zoning. I'll let Mushim go through the presentation of the design. Thank you.
Hello, this presentation is the results of 2 years of consulting with planning, reviewing the design guidelines, the zoning, the land and the elements, the environment, and where we live at. So I'm gonna zoom through, I mean, speed fast through some of these slides because they are repeats. And can we have the whole screen, please? It's like. Okay, again, this is talking about the setbacks that we are all above the requirements. Again, noise and narrow views in relationship to the width of the land, moving the bedrooms to the other side, so we'll be protected from the noise of life ward and moving the utilities to other side. Trying to capture the views that everybody else is enjoying from the family room and master bedroom bath. We have the last design review board took all their recommendations and took all of that, all of the yellow areas are what we took out and moved back. So it's very substantial and we compromised a lot here. We reduced the width of the overall width and then we lowered the ceiling height and we took out a major part of the deck and here also. And what else? We had to go into the small garden that we really would have loved to be able to keep, but we just sacrificed that. And most of these windows that we are on this Lifewood side, this is like, this is the closet and it's powder room and laundry room and the windows to going down to the stairs. So the rest of the wall is blocked because we don't want to put windows in the closet. And it creates a sound buffering for us for the rest of the house. And this is what we did with the lower floor. We took out this whole overhang and pushed the 2 bedrooms, 2 baths by 4 feet under the ground. And we are lowering this whole floor by 2 feet. Apparently, some board members have missed that. This is what we responded to this being too big of a block. So we put back the windows, and these are the windows. We lined them up. They are behind the trees and not visible from anywhere. And we can't see any reason to put windows here because of the functionality on the other side. Here is the east side. We have lowered the window heights, and most of the window heights that they are, the windows that are not sliding doors, they're going to be at anywhere from 18-inch to 4 feet above the floor. We have moved this whole section back by 4 feet and went down by 2 feet. And again, the roof line is 1 foot under minimum for 9 feet. And we put a stone finish on this terraced area. And you can see that we have worked with the formation of the land, with the contour of the land to tuck in and push in. And this is all the deck and area. This is the south elevation. We put stones at the terraced area, lowered all the windows. And the windows are going to be, the windows configuration are going to be specified at the construction document side. Phase. And this is the north side. Again, we reduce the windows height and the ceiling roof and step down. And this is really important to emphasize that all the story poles are at the point of the overhang, and it's not representative of our addition. This is the building addition on top floor. So you can see the scale is not that much. These are all the neighbors in the immediate vicinity that they are over 16.9 by 27% lot coverage and the floor area variances. These are the stucco colors, exterior tile and roof colors, and they're in gray and dark brown and rust. It's dark colors absorb heat. It's not energy efficient, but we are willing to do that if everybody wants that, if all the board members are preferring that. We ourselves prefer the lighter colors. And these are all the signatures of all the neighbors that are in supportive of our project. This is the original, the design that we have done and the lines and these lines are where the story poles were, and so by doing all that stuff that I mentioned, you could see that we are giving them pictures from the same point of view. We're giving them the St. Hilary's and downtown Tiburon and the Yacht Club. And as you see that our neighbors have planted these evergreens at the edge of their own property. So in a few years, this whole thing will be covered, and actually our own trees are covering the majority of this expansion. And this is another view from the living room. As you can see again, the church, downtown Tiburon Yacht Club, and this is from the middle of the living room, and you can see the reflection of the exterior furniture from the deck way back in the mirror, in the window. And this is our home relative to the rest of the hillside. You can see their scale, and our home is a dot relative to everybody else's house. And this is 116 next door to us. Again, our home, 116, the scale of it, and they kept calling our home expansion humongous or something enormous. This is existing home under construction, 108, is blocking this whole wing of the 110 behind them. And you can see all the floor to ceiling windows here, 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 everywhere. And you can see the scale of it, and they're stepping down. Again, the same new development. For an example, this is our view from the going up Lyford at the Estila, a few feet from our home. This is when our roof line becomes apparent, and you can see ours. This is 5 Santa Ana, and this is 11 Lyford. So you can see our home, actually, we are lowering this part and flattening it. So, but what we are doing is going to be less apparent than what it is right now. Driving up a few feet up the hill, this is Venado and Lyford. You see 4 homes. This one, the whole floor, one whole story is sticking out, and this is 2 stories, and so are these. And you can see floor to ceiling heights, windows. And this is making the turn at Lyford and Heathcliff. And these homes, this is George's home, 1 whole story is showing. This is 2 stories. And these are all looking at, in your face. This is at the bottom of Lyford and Sugarloaf. And you can see all the white homes, floor to ceiling windows, and exposed to the roof, to the road. This is looking at the building right in front of the driveway that goes to 1116 right behind us. And this house is off-white cream color. These are the views from downtown Tiburon. We just drove by for 5 minutes to get for examples. And as you can see, this is our home. This is 116. And the rest of these homes, you can look at the scale of it. And when you look at the hillside, that's what you see. Homes with white color finishes mostly, and 2 stories are apparent, are visible. And just turning around from the same point, this house, these homes are enormous. 2 stories sticking out and up, and they're wide. And you can see their scale. It's everywhere. And it's not just on our hillside, it's on all the Tiburon hillside. These are some examples of homes. Right, this one I think is 4 feet away from the road. They're white, 2 stories. You can see these from the road, main roads. This is another example of this huge home. When you drive up, you're looking at this whole thing, and it's 2 stories, floor to ceiling windows and light color, and it steps down the roof line. These are a few examples of the existing homes stepping down, and this is under construction. Another one that is under construction, this is what you see from the road, 2-story high, floor to ceiling windows, and you see the whole floor and a half from this main road. These homes are hanging over Tiburon Boulevard. The whole house is cantilevered on the whole road from the main Tiburon Boulevard. This is the 114 Lyford next door. You can see the enormous scale of it. And the color is white. This is their step-down roof and flat roof. And when we do our own expansion, by having a wall here, we will not have to look at this 30, 40 feet high white blank stucco wall. And again, this is the 108, and you can see it's stepping down here. This is that house, and just notice that their whole roof is white. And this picture, we took it from our living room, dining room area. That's what we're looking into. And again, our goal is to make our home functional for aging in place and for our family. We are within the design guidelines, we are within the zoning guidelines, and the staff believes that there is sufficient evidence to support the findings for the request variances. And these are all the items that we have changed. And I think it's good. I don't have time to repeat all of it again. And we appreciate the opportunity to present our plans and value your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was 2 seconds right under. Now we will ask, do we have any questions from the board to staff or the applicant?
I'd just like to ask the applicant, are you saying that because there are existing white houses on the hillside that you should be allowed to have one?
We would like to, but if that's not gonna fly with the majority of the board members, we're gonna go with the darker colors that we have presented. It's, I have another set. We will be happy with either one.
Excuse me. I couldn't find it. What was the finished interior ceiling height of the family room and breakfast area?
Sorry,
What's the interior ceiling height of the family room and the breakfast area?
11 feet,
11.
yes.
Finished floor to finish ceiling.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, I have a question. Maybe it's me. I didn't see a landscaping plan, did I?
We are keeping existing.
You're keeping the existing, okay. Then, what is in front of how? I'm just trying to understand the transition to the stone rock wall on the bottom floor. I'm just confused how that exactly works.
We are gonna, like every 3 feet,
Uh-huh.
we are gonna terrace it.
Okay. And then there'll just be some kind of concrete sort of patio in front of that until it gets to the stone wall.
The lower floor,
Yes,
yes.
okay,
Not by much. We're gonna be working with the formation of the land, with the contour of the land, depending on where we are at. We might have like 3 feet for opening the doors and windows, and then step down to every 3 feet.
okay. I wasn't clear on that, but okay. So if I look at let me see where the proposed site plan, the roof site plan, I'm looking at the overhang, so it's kind of hard to see that, but the stone wall would be probably coincident with the overhang, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much. And now we'll open up to the public. First, we'll go to the in-person audience, and each person has 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address, please, for our records.
To see the other sets of the finishes or?
Sure. Why not? Thank you. I'll see the difference. Oh, it's the same color. Okay, okay. It's just TPO. Okay. Great, thank you. Chris, are we ready? Yeah, okay, great. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christian Soul. We own 114 Lyford, right above the proposed project. So I think their presentation was full of spin. I hope you all can see through that as well. You know, the issue, as you know, is this creation of a large mass at close to the highest point of elevation on their property and moving it over west, creating a huge mass in the foreground of our view at 114 Lyford. That's the issue. As Bob said, they chose the positive feedback they heard from you. They chose what they wanted to implement, right? They clearly ignored what they didn't like moving the house down the hill. If you go back through the last minutes of the last 3 board meetings, it was very clear, move the house down the hill to re-terrace it and to reduce the view in the foreground of 114. Those trees Nushin pointed out, they're never going to block this mass that we're looking at. Other houses on Lyford that she pointed out, those are not visible from the street. And they don't present an issue, a big mass in the foreground of the view of the properties above them. They're not comparable. Tiburon is a beautiful place. It's probably one of the most beautiful places in the country. You all, as a design review board, have an amazing opportunity and responsibility to protect that natural environment by making sure the built environment matches the natural environment. The people of this town want you to do that. They want you to say no. It's easy to say yes. It takes courage to say no. The people of Tiburon want you. If something clearly doesn't follow the design guidelines, the hillside design guidelines, clearly doesn't follow the feedback you've given to the applicant, they want you to say no. A good architect would relish in those constraints because it forces creativity. And they would come back with real solutions that mirror what you've recommended. That's not what's going on here. They come back with the same design over and over again and try to argue to you and us that, oh, this is so different. It's not, it's the same thing. So please continue to say no for the benefit of this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the audience who would like to make a comment? Okay, is there anyone online?
Chair Kim, there's no public comments online.
Okay, seeing no more public comment, the applicant has an opportunity to speak for 5 more minutes.
Well, we obviously take exception to what our dear neighbor said here. What does he mean by moving our whole house down the hill? I think he's just not understanding what the concept is. We followed by, you know, using some of the design review board's comments about nip and tuck, and then went to an angle to provide them the views that aren't mandatory. You know, the views of the St. Hilary, downtown Tiburon, and the yacht club. We've provided that. And we do have a 2-level house. We just want to expand the upper level as well. And we're in line with, I mean, we're not newcomers to the Tiburon. We've lived here, raised our kids here since 1989. So we understand Tiburon's beauty and all of that. That's why we're here. And we respect that. We'd like to stay in harmony with the hillside, but when you look at those pictures, we're the only house that is tiny, puny in that hillside. And it's interesting that the 2 huge properties next to us are humongous. One is so, you know, white wall, solid white wall that we every day need to look at. And the other one, who's a rental property, is a single level that looks down on us. And they keep talking about privacy. We are the ones who needs to be concerned about privacy because we are 25 feet below them. We are the ones who need to be concerned about our privacy, not them. Anyway, it's just baffling to hear this.
And seriously, we understand this technique of repeating the same false statements. And if you keep repeating it and repeating it, they expect you to become a reality. But none of the statements that they have been saying is the truth. From day one, from 2 years ago, I consulted with the planning, and then I had 4 different roof designs, alternatives. 3 of them were sloped roofs. And then I went to the neighbors and I showed them all the 4 different alternatives. And they said they want to go with the flat roof and not the slope. So from day one, we have been in communications with them. There's no point of us digging further more into the hillside because we've been working with the formation of the 2 different slopes of the hillside. And we already are going down and under and cutting into the hillside. And there's a crazy expense into keep digging and tempering and Mickey Mousing with the land and the Mother Earth for no reason. We have given them the views that they've been asking by design guidelines. St. Hilary and downtown Tehran, they're not considered major views. And we have given that to them from their main spaces. So I don't know what they want from us anymore because we have done everything. And this expansion was not visible from anywhere. That with this drama of the whole Tiburon, it just blew my mind away with all this drama. And it's just like, we have tried to compromise, to listen, to implement all the constructive comments, the best that applies to our land and our need for being in our home. The neighbor's concern is their views of 30 seconds of passing by our home because it's an eyesore to them. And our main concern is being able to sleep at night because our bedroom is on Lyford and we can't sleep. Those are the difference in the point of views of our situation and our expansion. And I think we have the right, like everybody else on that hillside, to be able to take advantage of views.
Okay, thank you so much for your statement. At this time, we will close the hearing testimony to.
I just have a quick one for the
yeah,
applicant.
sure.
Yep. Do you have the materials from the original colors? Is that what you have there? Or, yeah. Is this from the original application, correct? Is this from the original application? Yeah, okay, all right, thank you. Just if you could speak into the microphone, if you're gonna say anything. Sorry, we're recording.
The roof finish was always going to be gray.
All right, thank you.
So it will be the same sample.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, you missed that last week. So now we will close the hearing to the testimony to the public, and we're going to deliberate amongst ourselves. Who'd like to start off?
I don't want to necessarily start off, but I did want to say that since I was not at the September 7th and January 18th meetings, I did have a chance to read all the minutes and visit the site. But I would like, since I wasn't at those, if maybe someone else could lead off to see how they addressed some of their concerns.
Okay, go ahead.
I really appreciate the fact that you're thinking of a darker color. You should understand that by showing us a whole hillside full of white houses, you're just showing us the direction the town really shouldn't be going and doesn't want to be going from a design standpoint. When you have a dark gray, green background, as our hillsides are because we planted trees everywhere, it's about a 70 to 80% gray on a scale of 100, with 100 being black and 0 being white. When you put a white house against it, it just makes every single house stand out like a white eczema, skin eczema on a human being, only it's on a hillside. Instead of trying to make a community that is blended and has rich, you can have rich colors and still have them darker. A good example is hill towns in Italy and Spain. So we're not trying to say you can't have white, but it does damage the community look over time. So we're trying to ease into another pattern here. And I do appreciate the fact that you're recognizing that it is possible to do that and you can't just have to have white. I hate to be the downer, but this house is much more massive looking than the houses that are around it, in large part because it's very big and blocky and you haven't mitigated the series of rectangular block forms that you've got there very well, and they're not dug into the hillside. In spite of what you're saying, they're built in platforms that come out from the hillside. So you have much more visual mass seeing your house from the downhill side than other houses of a similar square footage. I'm still not satisfied with the fact that the house doesn't blend well with the hillside. I think the view blockage from the uphill neighbor is unfortunate. When you can resolve a view blockage by redesigning it slightly or even majorly, it would seem to be the thing to do rather than to insist on having your plan. I do not see much change since your original design came to us of the overall house. A foot here and a foot there, but it is not a redesign that accomplishes very much. So for those reasons, I still am not pleased with the house, and I wouldn't vote for it in its present configuration.
Okay, thank you. Let's deliberate amongst ourselves. Could you, do you want to go next or you want to go next?
I think the challenge with this project has been, in the beginning, there was an acute problem, I think, that we all agreed on, that there was view blockage of the uphill neighbor. But we as a board have not kind of converged on solutions. We're still very much kind of, I think, in opposition of how drastic the changes or the redesign have to be. And therefore, I think the first revision showed a pretty big improvement to that acute problem of the view blockage. I think there are degrees of how much more that view blockage could be minimized. I think, you know, I think there's still some options to lessen the impact on the uphill neighbor if we think there's still room to go. But I think because the differences of opinion on the board through we're now at 4 meetings, just haven't really, I think, progressed in one direction, because we keep coming back to, you know, what Jim said, kind of his opinion on it really being dig into the hillside. I don't agree with that. that need for this project personally. You know, there's, I keep repeating myself that my house looks directly at that hill. I see it, that hillside every single day. I'm not an architect, I'm a civilian, and I don't see the difference materially in this design compared to the, I think it's 108, whatever's being under construction now, which is, to me, looking across, it's that all the houses on that hill from across the open preserve are very horizontal and large. And I understand a desire to reverse that trend. But it's just such a big expense to dig into the hillside, and I'm not sure at this point, kind of making that one house bury itself into the hillside is really going to materially change the whole impact of that hillside from the opposition. So I just don't agree necessarily with that direction and that requirement.
Would you support the design as is? Would you support it going through?
I think the short answer is,
Are there any conditions that you would like to suggest?
I think some of my like personal, I don't want to call it frustration, but challenge. I do see there are some continued nips and tucks, as you will, or some changes that I see that could reduce the bulk and reduce the view impact from the uphill neighbor. I think, again, this gets into this discussion of, you know, is it too punitive to lessen a view that we're all, you know, it went from a moderate view blockage to a more minimal view blockage. I think if there's ever opportunity to, you know, completely minimize the best we can the view blockage, I'm in favor of that. And I do see some areas where we could add conditions, but
would you like to suggest any?
well, I mean, I'm looking at the floor plan, like, you know, I think there was some moves in the last revision around, it pushed it back, it brought it in a little bit, but the closet's still there. Like, there's still the, you know, the bathroom's 6 feet. That's adding width, right? Like, could that be relocated somewhere? I see some potential opportunities, but like, this is, again, you see what I'm saying? Like, behind the potentially behind the breakfast area, there was like glazing issue, like concerns. I think these are all like possibilities. I don't know how much it's worth doing to save, you know, again, I would pass as is, given the view blockage,
Okay,
how it's come in, but I'd be open to conditions to even lessen that if the board thought it was necessary. But I don't think this is like in a position where it's a redesign and like dig into the hill another, like, to lower it 6 feet, 10 feet.
okay. That's very helpful. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, so and I'm kind of looking at it without the history that everybody else has. So I went out to the site today, both to the applicant and to the uphill neighbor. And, you know, I mean, I guess the starting point is I've never felt that, like, if you want to improve your home and you want to add additional square footage on the same 2 floors that you own, the starting point shouldn't be you have to like build 2 more floors and turn into a four-story home, or you shouldn't have to like just level the entire thing, right? You know, do away with an existing foundation and then do a big scoop into the hillside just so an uphill neighbor can't see the house, right? That said, you know, when you go to an uphill neighbor's house, you have to look at, you know, the view, and you have to look at the impact that it has. I went to the uphill neighbor's home, and it was, and I've got a picture of it here. It's you know, I walk in, the first thing I look at is the Golden Gate Bridge, then the city, then the water view, then, you know, the edge of Angel Island. And then eventually I like, you know, I even looked at the open space, and eventually you're like, okay, yes, I'm here to look at the story poles, right? After you know, kind of taking this incredibly gorgeous view. And so, you know, for me, yes, does it eliminate some of the view? Yeah, absolutely, right? From some parts, it does eliminate, you know, Old St. Hilary's Church. It doesn't from other parts of the house, right? You know, from kind of the left side of the living room, and that side. You know, would it be great if there was a version that didn't eliminate that view? Of course there would, but what is that view in the grand totality of that overall view? And again, that's kind of my only concern. It shouldn't just be like dig down for dig down's sake. It's dig down because there's an improvement there. But I also think that all the stuff is a sliding scale, right? Like, you know, on one end, you know, you have an uphill neighbor who is going to always wish that there is no view impact, and you're going to have an applicant that wants to, you know, build as much home as possible, you know, with a little expense of digging into the hillside as possible. You know, I kind of feel like this finds, you know, for me, it strikes a balance between the two. You know, I sure there are other versions, but is the other version, you know, unnecessarily punitive to an applicant just for the sake of, you know, a small amount of uphill neighbor benefit? And I think that this is kind of the regular conversation that we have to have when it's, you know, trying to weigh an improvement versus a view impact. As far as colors go, I still continue to absolutely disagree on the, like, we have to go to these houses that 100% do everything they can to blend into the hillside. I just think that if you look at an open space hillside, it's gorgeous because there are no homes. You look at the hillside from downtown Tiburon, and it is gorgeous because there are a ton of homes. So you see these, I mean, you pull up the photos from, you know, across the way from you, and it's like, it's a hill that's filled with homes. And it's a wide variety of homes in all different colors, including lots of homes that are in white or light colors. So I personally have no issue with that. And to tell somebody they can't develop, you know, to a certain level of color when a next door neighbor has the exact color or lighter, I personally, I think is getting to the point of being silly that we're now kind of the color police on stuff. So I mean, I look at the original materials, and I would have been supportive of the original colors. So all in all, it's you know, I'm supportive of the project pretty much as presented. I also think that the point about the story poles being at the eaves lines is going to actually lessen the impact that it appears from uphill. And I also think that the flatter roof style, I did see quite a bit of roof in the photos I took. I think the flatter roof would be an improvement from what's there now. So yeah, all in all, I'm supportive of it.
Okay, so for me, it was never about the view impact. It's been always the foreground, having a roof in front of your in your viewport. But I think they did make a big change at the last meeting. They moved it significantly towards the building, which actually does minimize that somewhat. The elevation, I think looks better, although if you look at drawing A104 and then you look at this section, A108, look at section BB, there's something funky going on with the location of the windows. So I think the height is a little low in this drawing versus what's presented on the I'm pretty sure it's on my eye, A104 and A108. So I think I like, yeah, it seems awfully low, right? Yeah, it doesn't seem to match, but I like how there's a composition there. There's a datum there that's being established. Never been thrilled. Here's what I would like to see. We have a bunch of different roof heights. So if you look at A107, number 2, the top drawing, you see 3 different roof heights. I think it helps to break up the surfaces. I understand that, but do we need 11 feet floor to ceiling? And what I'm nervous about is all that glass is gonna be light pollution at night. So if I'm going back and forth, what does this mean? Maybe it means bringing down that element to the piece right here to the right. So if you look at that elevation, there's 4 different roof heights there. Kind of want to harmonize a little bit. And so maybe the datum is actually moving down that piece, at least, that's a foot lower, right, to that piece. That would actually lower that. And I'm wondering if we can reduce the glass by keeping the glass datum on the left, which is the master bedroom piece, bringing that down. That'll help. That reduces the amount of glass. So bringing the roof down so there's only 3 different roof heights instead of 4. And then reducing the glass elevation so that there's just one sort of datum that goes across. And that'll lower the amount of light pollution on that level. Staff, are you understanding this?
I'm taking notes, but I was gonna ask you to repeat it at the end.
So my suggestion is if you look at elevation number 2 on drawing sheet A107.
Yes.
There's a triangle 2, a revision cloud with a triangle 2.
Is it okay if we pull the plans up on the
Yeah.
screen just for
Yeah,
everyone's
let's
clarity?
do that.
If you don't mind. Do you mind pulling it up from the agenda? Yeah, if you don't mind.
You'll still get very generous, height, floor to ceiling. You'll get 10 feet, but it's just lowering it so that, oh, you can't see. Oh, it has to turn on. Okay, thanks. Stop.
Oh, sorry, it's only on the, I'll teach you down.
Mike doing something? No, it's not clicking.
Almost.
Oh, is this the light? Oh, there it is. Okay, I see the pointer. Okay, sheet A107. Top elevation, yeah. So my idea is that there's a datum here. Take this datum right here, bring it down to this datum. So this datum right here, bring it down here. Okay, so that's the roof overhang. My second idea is then also put the glass at this point, just level out the glass so the top of the glass for all the way across is the same. That'll reduce probably a foot of light. Give them maybe, an opportunity to that. And I just got to make sure that, we also address screening, having some kind of screening between the neighbors at that point. That's my first suggestion. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but
Yeah, I guess my feeling on a lot of these things is that, architects bring plans that are well thought out. And if the concern is light pollution, as opposed to trying to design exactly what they should do, if there's like a percentage, like, okay, hey, we'd like to see a 20% reduction in glazing, then let the architects and the applicants figure out how they want to take out that percentage of glazing. As opposed to saying that like, hey, we're gonna, there's probably a design reason why somebody wants floor to ceiling windows because they're gorgeous from inside when you look out. And so maybe they want to cut off like from the side as opposed from the top or from the bottom or some other, I guess, thing that we wouldn't necessarily have thought of, as opposed to being like, hey, here's what we want to change and tweak about this one design.
I feel strongly about this because we've seen this. This has been bothering me for a while. And the changes by changing this just one subtle thing, that box that's actually in the forefront. So I'm hoping that this little piece, which is which is the sore point, becomes a little bit minimized. Having 4 different sort of pieces right here, I think this will clean it up and make this elevation a little bit less blocky. And I do think maybe we need to think about the amount of light going up there.
What I see you're doing is effectively that will require lowering the ceiling
Yep.
over the family room and breakfast area to approximately
10 feet.
10 feet.
10 feet. It's 11 right now.
Okay, well, that would help if that's the same height as the master bedroom, I think.
And then what's happening here, this little piece of glass, if you look at that elevation.
Yeah.
Is a lower height, so
Right.
that would even further bring down the
So
amount
you're
of glass.
You're
Yeah.
lowering those, the family room and master bed and breakfast area ceiling height to the same height as the master bedroom wing and.
No, it's not the same.
I think currently,
It's not the same.
I would-
my understanding is the
I would
max.
support it if it was lowered to the same height as the master bedroom wing. For one thing, both those areas, that the breakfast area and the family room, are areas where you're using them primarily seated. And you don't need an 11-foot or even a 10-foot ceiling in a seated area.
I was thinking about that too, but then if you don't get the variation in the roof,
You're.
and if
what
you're
doing
breaking
is
up the roof, we're
you're
breaking up the roof though.
You're simplifying the.
Yes, I'm trying to simplify that. Yeah, there's too many moves here. That one's lower, this
Okay.
piece is lower, this piece is higher, this piece is lower.
But if you take this whole zone and lower it, I'd say that's a good step.
So I'm,
9 feet ceiling height inside, and that means 10.5 overall or something.
so I'm directionally in alignment, but what I want to clarify is because currently there are 4 roofs, because the master right
Yes,
now.
yes.
9 feet interior floor to
Yes.
ceiling, then it goes 11, then it goes
And then that back
12,
piece
but
is a
the back
different,
is
yeah,
10, I think.
yeah.
So what do we do? What do we?
So what we're saying is there's an L and that extra piece right here all goes down to 1 height.
Okay, so there's 2 roof heights now.
There'll be still 3. There's not 4 now. There's just 3.
Okay, so are you bringing the bedroom, the family room and breakfast area to the master or to the?
To the master.
Master.
He wants to master. I was going in somewhere in between, but if we can just do that, that's where I lie. That's my one condition. The second thing is I'm actually in agreement with you about the paint color. I'm okay with the lighter color and I like the lighter TPO. It's gonna be a killer to have a dark roof. In this climate, I think we're in a different world and we always disagree about this. I just don't like heat gain and
It makes such a small amount of heat gain difference that it's ridiculous. And
maybe but if you put solar on it, it's gonna be dark anyway, so. And then, I do want to put a third condition is I like some kind of vegetation that we mean some type of screening in the back.
So
Yeah,
while I'm generally in favor of that, is a kind of a weird situation from my understanding
Uh-huh.
because where you put that screening,
Mhm.
from my understanding, is actually an easement for 116 to also own 120. So it's a little, I kind of might not put a condition in that because the 2 parties both want screening and own all of the land that's in where you would put the screening, so. It's a challenge to put screening. I'm in 100% agreement that I think screening should be there. I think both parties want screening, and I think because of the 2 properties owned, plus an easement, plus the limited planning space behind the 114, I think it might be over conditioned.
I tend to agree with you because there is a direct conflict between screening and view preservation. So any screening that goes in on this property should be with a codicil that it actually be maintained at the height approximately of the roof height. of their roof height rather than allowed to grow wild, because once it grows wild, it becomes a view blockage for the uphill neighbor, which is what we're trying to stay away from. And it's critical. It's every foot is important.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another thing that's the fourth thing that's always bothered me is this transition between stucco and tile. You see that on the front elevation, and then as you go around to the side, I don't understand that transition. So like you're having a corner where you have tile and then you have stucco meeting it, and then you see tile wrapping right on the top. I think that's really weird. I don't know. So look at the same elevation right here. See on the left-hand side? So you see tile wrapping around, but then on that corner that hits the garage, you'll see an edge. You'll have a condition where you have the tile to the stucco. I don't know. And then you see the back elevation where you see the tile wrapping around the other way. So it's weird. I'm just not in love with the tile.
I
But-
agree with you. I think the tile is timidly applied and doesn't have much to do with the,
It just doesn't feel,
Building.
it doesn't feel a depth, so we call this a corner condition. I mean, this is classic school condition where you have tile and you have stucco, they're meeting at the corner. What's going on? It's wrapping around and it's becoming tile all of a sudden. It's weird. I kind of like, I'm okay on the overhang having the tile. I think the building is stucco. I think it's just really cohesive, and I know that the brick, what do you call it? The brick fireplace is trying to mediate, but it's not because the front entry is also tiled. Sorry.
It
it's-
doesn't bother me, and it's a.
Okay,
I mean, I'm not sure what the concern that's like, is it just aesthetic, how it looks? I mean.
yes, it's aesthetics. It feels it patched on instead of a cohesive building. It reduces the mass of the building. That's how it feels to me, but
I don't think that changing the outside material is gonna make the house disappear into the hillside, which seems like everybody's goal.
no, I'm not trying to make it disappear. I'm just saying it just.
It's Jim's goal,
it is my fault.
just do invisible houses.
Why should everybody's house stand out on the hillside like a pincushion? It just doesn't make sense, you know?
I'm okay with a lighter color palette. Super not in love with the tile, but
I think the houses are gonna stand out on the hillside until the town of Tiburon decides to pass something that says that no one can build over like a 1,500 square foot house. Then, when you drop 5 to 8,000 square feet on the hill, it's just, you're gonna see the house. That's just the nature of,
Well, I agree with
of the
that.
building.
But why make it worse?
yeah.
I'm in agreement with the lighter color. I think it's not white. I mean, it's.
you're okay with two different materiality for the elevation? I'm actually not. I'm not. I feel pretty strongly, it's always bothered me that there was tile here and stucco here.
I mean, was that brought up in the work session? The workshop, there's.
I always had issues with the elevation. This elevation.
Again, that was part of, I think I went back and the original plans had tile, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
and so-
in that garage, and it was completely tiled over before because there was no windows there. There was no puncturing
Again, I didn't have the benefit of sitting through the workshop session that was held specifically to
Yeah.
address some of the concerns. And I would just say that I think moving the goalposts on an applicant and bringing up new issues in a fourth meeting is maybe not fair to bring up a new issue that you have.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
It's not something that I would say, come back to another meeting because this is our last meeting. This is our last meeting. It's something that I would propose as a potential condition, but that if you guys don't want that, then you guys don't want it. This is what I would support though.
Would you,
So,
are you requiring it to be a condition? I guess that's my question.
no, I'm not saying that's just my preference. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know, in this, in kind of like the aesthetic situation like this, my personal opinion is we note your we note your concern, and like let the applicant think about, like reconsider it, knowing there's a bullet point that you.
You
think
can't do that. I mean, you either say,
No, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying like not make a condition.
yeah,
but,
yeah,
like,
yeah. I say,
giving the applicant a bullet point of like, hey, maybe revisit this thing because Suzanne and Jim think it might be weird, so.
It's not just- it's-
The tree in the front yard.
It-
Exactly, like. I was
it's
just-
it's not just a weird thing. It's also like you have a rain screen with tile and then you have stucco. When you round the corner, it's the corner thing, dilemma. Like when you take something and you put a face on it, is this an applique or is this reducing the mass of the building? But anyway, my condition, I think I would be in support with what Jim was saying, bringing the family room down to the level of the master bedroom. And I like the stone idea. I think the stone little walls sort of help. So that's how I would support it, and I would support the lighter colors, and I would strongly urge not to use a tile and just consider this a stucco building.
Was there any condition on the glazing or everything, just bringing it down? I think. 2
Not the
feet, right?
glazing, the roof.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
originally when we were.
Yeah.
Okay, so just bring the roof down. 2
Yeah.
feet. It looks like 2 feet.
Yeah.
So I agree with you on the tile wrap. It needs to be resolved better. And I would like to see, I would support it if we have the gray color in there, but I won't support anything in a 2-foot drop in the living room. I mean, excuse me, the family room. But I can't see any other reasonable compromises that make sense. The house is going to be a big house. That's fine. We have a lot of big houses in Tiburon. I think doing things to make it look less big, including color, are important. I mean, in some ways, color is more important than square footage because it does blend with the hillside and makes the house not stand out. When a white house stands out against a green tree, there's a line there, you know?
One compromise could be, what if it's darker TPO, but the house is white? The lighter color.
Darker TPO.
Darker TPO, because I think in terms of the foreground for the uphill neighbor, it'll be less obtrusive than saying a lighter surface, no?
You're talking about the roof?
Mhm.
Yeah, the darker, medium dark roof is fine. So this,
Wasn't it?
So, but I'm sorry, this is the roof you're talking about bringing down?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
And to make sure this represents these 2-story poles right here,
yes.
those two?
Yes.
Right, this would be these two.
Yes.
Back here. I'm playing.
That is this piece right here. It brings it down to this
one,
level.
There's a glass. I think that's. This.
That helps also with the
I
the
personally like
night.
how the roof steps down, like, because this brings it down essentially to that level, right? So
Yes.
you have that much more of one flat.
So you have less light pollution to the uphill neighbor.
But again, I think my preference versus like dropping an entire roof down 2 feet, if the concern is light pollution, then like, let's mandate some reduction in glazing, right? But not lower an entire room by 2
Can I borrow
feet.
your pen?
Yeah.
My original idea was take this datum, the glazing goes out of here, take this roof, bring this roof down to this height. So it's still steps and it's at this height. So it's much more uniform. It's not so blocky. And it meets two goals of reducing the light pollution and reducing a little bit of,
Yeah,
the
so
foreground issue.
I've got to disagree because I think that I like the fact that it steps and it breaks up the roof line. I think that if the goal is to reduce glazing, you reduce glazing and have a percentage of the windows taken out. If the goal is to free up view space, then assume that we're agreeing with this. All you're doing is just freeing up, being able to see more of the other roof. You're not really freeing up any view. It's going to free up more of looking at the house. Like these are the two exact story poles from the living room of the uphill neighbor.
That's incorrect. It'll actually take more, you'll get more view and you will get,
Are we in agreement that the two story poles we're talking about are this one and this one, that it would bring down?
Yes.
Okay, so bringing down that roof line right there does nothing more than just show more of the house on the other side of that roof.
for that.
It depends, it depends on that view. If you, that is,
That is a view from the center of the living room of the uphill neighbor.
Okay.
But that's only a portion of that view. If you look at
Of
the
course,
rest
it's a portion of
it,
view, because if I zoom out, you can't even see that portion of the story poles.
But if.
from my
if you're-
view,
if
it's
you're-
actually more
If
significant.
it depends on the angle and where you're sitting.
Yeah, my angle was actually bigger.
If you're sitting down at the head of the table, dining table, that's 2 feet lower.
Yeah, and if you're sitting on the head of the table, you're not looking at those story poles. You're looking at the full San Francisco city skyline. Like, that's what you're looking at. You're not, I mean,
So in this view, that actually cuts it down to here. So,
all right, if I'm in the minority, I'm in the minority. I just want to make sure I make my points clear that I don't want to solve a glazing light uphill neighbor problem by dropping a ceiling height for a family room by 2 feet. That's my concern.
there's a living room there, a grand living room that'll maintain 12-foot height.
Yeah, that's kind of where, when I was, again, now this is why I kind of brought up the like relocating of the bathroom, because you don't need glazing in the bathroom and you shave 6 feet off the width. So you're actually improving the view for more of the uphill neighbor going in. And that's where I'm getting in, like, there's more to do depending on what we're solving.
I mean, this right here, this whole piece is way higher. So
Yeah, but that's also why I was in favor of that idea I had, is because they have that family room it's right off the master bedroom. It's not their primary living room. It is an extension of the family room to some degree. The living room is,
I'm in the minority, it's all right.
okay, can somebody try to make a resolution,
Yeah, motion.
a motion?
I'll let the people that have all the conditions make the motion.
I'll propose that we make findings that it meets all CEQA requirements, that the
It's categorically exempt.
category exempt, yeah. That the tile on the building wrap around the corner of the living room, the end of the living room, the downhill end of the living room. That the color be as shown today with the gray tiles. Or at least, or something darker than that if they choose. And that the the family room be lowered. The roof be lowered to match the master bedroom roof at 9 feet approximately. The family room and breakfast area.
Would anybody like to second that?
were we not? I didn't think we wanted the color to be a condition.
Okay, then make another motion then. No
Well,
one's
I
gonna,
think since there's a motion on the floor, I think you need to probably, there needs to be a vote on that motion and then.
I know, but there's no second. Okay, so someone else try to make a motion.
I think it's motion to approve the project with the condition that we lower the family room and breakfast nook roof line to match the roof line of the master bedroom. And that the color can be has to be darker, the same color or darker as the initial proposal.
And projects.
And projects exempt from SEQA
Categorically.
categorically.
I'll second that.
Let's take a vote. Let's take a roll call vote.
Board Member Rosner,
Aye.
Vice Chair Chong,
Aye.
Board Member Malat,
Nay,
Chair Kim.
Aye. The ayes have it, the motion passes and the project resolution has passed. Okay, sorry about that. That was a marathon. We will now move to the second item on the agenda, which is PH 2180 Vestasio East Street. The applicant come up for 20 minutes. This is hard. Feel free to begin.
Okay. Hi there, my name is Andrea Montalbano. I'm an architect at Dorman Associates. I saw you guys at the last meeting, everyone except for Mr. Chong here. And my clients are jumping out, actually. They have, they're getting on a plane, so they were hoping to be able to attend, but they have to leave. So at the last meeting, I think we got some really good feedback. And we really, examined what you guys suggested, and we made the following changes. So we reduced the deck area, exterior deck area by over 250 square feet. We reduced the depth of the rear decks at both levels. We pulled the decks back from the west neighbor property line, also from the east neighbor property line. We moved the stair that goes to the backyard to the center of the deck, so it's no longer along that east property line. We reduced the primary bath addition, which was really the only addition on the lot, by a full 5 feet. So it's almost 50% of what it was. We decreased the shower and primary bedroom window sizes by a full 50%. We added translucent glass on the primary closet and the shower window. We pulled the long shallow deck at the back away from the east side by almost 4 feet to begin just at the door. And we reduced the solidity of the Brise Soleil shading screen and added a note that the spacing would be determined in field according to what the views were and such. And we also changed the landscape plans to provide enhanced screening. So everything you see here on these 2 floor plans, everything in pink has been removed. So this was the addition, the area of the addition at both levels that we removed. This is all the deck area at the ground floor level at grade going to the backyard that we removed. This is the area of the deck at that first level that we removed. This is that stair that we moved to the center. It used to be over here. So we moved all that and just put it in the middle, kind of tucked it behind the hot tub. And then at the upper level, we removed this area of deck, pulled back these decks here, and we're mirroring the shape of the roof here. And this balcony is now reduced. And as you can see, the balcony it's very small now. It's really just a step out deck because there's a door here and there's a door here. So it's really just enough space to stand outside of the door area. So you also asked to see the neighbor property on the east side, on both sides, but on the east side, it was, the east neighbor is very concerned about the facing of the windows. So, along with the landscape screening that we are adding between the houses, which I think is desired from both sides, just wanted to show that, this is that roof level of the neighbor's house. So these top floor windows really, and we included a picture here, they really are looking above the roof and to the skyline to the east. And we really want to keep those windows because that's really, the eastern sun, it's the dawn, it's also where are the colors in the sky during the sunset. So they're kind of pretty important windows. This also shows the area of the variance that we're requesting, which is very small. So looking at these windows, so this is a view outside of the window now. And as you can see, it's really mostly sky. And we're really looking, this is taken at waist height. And you can see we're looking down on the top of the roof. And that's how much higher this second floor level is. And so if we look at, and this is an accurate location at the high point of the ridge of where these windows would be. And because it's a kitchen counter, you don't stand right against this window. The windowsills are at 4.6. So when you're standing at this countertop, really, you really can't see down here if we plant proper screening, which of course we want to do. So really the idea is to just get the sky here. And then at the lower level, this is that lower level, and this is the translucent glass at the shower. This is the closet window, which has translucent glass. This is the window at the bedroom that we reduced by 50%. That one's not translucent glass. It's the only window in the bedroom other than the sliding door. So just think that to be able to lay in your bed and kind of look out that corner, you don't see the neighbor, but you see the water and you see something. Now, here is something about the variance. So this is a kind of neighborhood. This is from Marin Maps with the topo, and this is the neighborhood. So this is our site. Not really looking up here because these lots are, very large, very different. But in general, if you zoom out, you would see more of the same pattern here. And what you see with this pattern is all these green areas. These are flat spots. So these are where the lots have been benched or have a natural flat spot. And what you see is we don't have that on this site. There's a couple of lots that don't have it in the neighborhood. Really, it's really like kind of up in this neighborhood that you really don't get those kind of benched areas. And what that lack of a benched area does is that we have our ridge line, it prevents us from having a ridge line that is level from front to back of the lot. So if we had a benched grade at these locations, we wouldn't be asking for a variance. So basically, the argument is this is kind of an exceptional topographic hardship. If we had a benched lot like most other people do in the neighborhood, this variance wouldn't even be required. And the other thing I wanted to mention was that in the previous meeting, I know Mr. Rosner asked if the car lifts were what was, pushing us into ask for this variance. And I said, well, it's not. Well, we could get car lifts in there, but it would be so small. It would be like the front end of a Maserati could like just slide in there. So I just wanted to show that it's really very minimal with these car lifts as planned. We have only 5'9" under the car, which really isn't great. If you're taller than 5'9", you could easily hit your head. So it's not generous. And then above that is only 5 feet. And of course, if a car is higher than 5 feet, we're into a problem. So I just wanted to point out that we're really kind of squeezing it in there. And as you've all visited the site, you know how bad the parking is in the neighborhood. So that is the bulk of the presentation. I just want to go back to this slide to talk about this notes all the changes that we made.
Thank you. Dita, for your time then. Thank you. Any questions from the board to staff or at the applicant? Okay, thank you. We'll open it up to the public now, 3 minutes per person. Please state your name and your address. We'll start from the in-person audience, please. Please come up to the mic.
Hi, I'm Ann Deemer. I'm the neighbor at 2200 Vistazo Street East, the neighbor, the direct neighbor on the east. I'm very grateful for the board's comments at the last meeting and careful consideration of our family's concerns with the proposal. I think it resulted in a much more palatable revised plan that's more considerate to us as the neighbor. Thank you to Kim for coming out today and looking at it in person. That was very helpful. I unfortunately still have 3 major concerns that I maintain with the proposal. The first being the brise soleil. While it was pushed back, it still goes, from the ground all the way up to the top of the 2nd story of the building and extends the facade of the house 4 feet. We'd be able to see it from our living room, our dining room, and our deck. Those are all the major primary areas of our upper floor of our house. And it just, I think, unnecessarily creates shade where we're already, taking on the variance of these very tall gables, filling in all the air space on the side with the ADU, and there's going to be a much larger presence here. I'm just asking that we get some relief by not unnecessarily extending that with a 4-foot brise soleil. The other objection we have continues to be the side deck. I greatly appreciate its reduction in size. It's much more palatable, but I still think it's unnecessary to have an outside entertaining space and where it's very, very, very tight between our 2 houses and looks directly into where our back deck is. Lastly, is the upper window on the east side, which would be their dining room, will create a sightline where none exists. There's only 1 window on the entire side of that house now. So they're having a major change in the amount of windows they're adding, but that window will look directly into our primary living spaces. That's my last comment.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, sorry.
Oh.
I just have one. I missed that. Which window was that? That last
On the upper story, on the east side, is their dining room window. So it'd be like where the deck, their deck is, the trees, where there are trees now, we would see a large window.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the audience? So this is the elevation.
Yes.
Thank you. Please state your name and your address. Thank you.
I'm Chris Armstrong. I live at 2180 Vistazo East Street. I have lived there since 1986. I think I can safely say that I am the longest tenured resident on this street now, save for Catherine Halpern, who lives at the Redwoods, and her daughter now occupies the home across the street. I'm very familiar with this lot. It was created a subdivision. Our lot is, I think, A, and the other lot is B. I think the subdivision occurred sometime in the late 50s. This is a challenging place to build. It has to be sloped. I think a lot of the agitation of some of the neighbors is attributable to 2 very large homes that have had ongoing construction that has not been well managed, but that's not the design review board's problem, but it is the problem of the neighbors, and it colors the perception of new development. I am very happy with the Ochis. They intend to live here. Their home is very old. It was built by Rex Elder a few years after mine. My home has gone through 4 different renovations in the period of time that I've lived there. It's overdue for renovation, and I don't see anything unreasonable about what they have proposed. There's been a lot of discussion about looking to the east and west. People who live on this hillside aren't looking out the side of their homes. They've lived there since 1986. You look out the front at the water. Unfortunately, these are narrow lots, and there's been discussion of landscaping. I'd be very careful of that, having devoted hundreds of hours, literally, to getting a new private sewer line put in because the town does not provide sewer systems for this part of the neighborhood. Be very careful what's planted over that sewer line on the eastern side. The western side, the slope is littered with aquifers, and French drains carry water from our yard. There's a drainage easement. So any kind of planting that goes in there has to take that into account. And as far as the setbacks are concerned and the parking, it's a nightmare, and it will be as long as we have what I would call trophy homes, which the Ochis is not. Under construction, one has been going on for over 4 years with no end in sight, and another enormous one up the street at 2120. There's no private parking or no off lot parking on the street anymore. So I'm delighted to have the Ochis as neighbors, and I'm sorry for the resistance to what they want to do, but it will improve the neighborhood, and I hope that's taken into consideration.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Is there anyone else from the audience who would like to make a comment? Seeing none, let's look at the online presence.
Chair Kim, there's no comments from the Zoom audience.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to use their last final 5 minutes? Okay.
I guess I would just say that, you know, we're eager to get started. So if there's anything that you could do, if you want us to make adjustments, that it could be a condition of approval rather than delaying the approval, that would be really appreciated.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then it is time. Well, let's deliberate and close it to the public and deliberate amongst ourselves. Anybody like to start off?
I'll go ahead. This is a challenging site, and I think that all of the comments we made last time are probably handled, with the exception of the Brise Soleil, and I would suggest that the Brise Soleil be taken out of this project now and more carefully looked at and designed at some point in the future. The reason is you've got a 2-story high Brise Soleil on both sides, and yet your view corridor will be from approximately 30 inches high tabletop to perhaps 7 feet. And that's the only portion that might require Brise Soleil. So I think there's too much mass blocking the view of the neighbors to the east and west. The dining room window, I recognize, could be a privacy issue for the neighbor next door, and at the same time, it opens up the windows, the view to a panorama to the east there, and I think it's important to keep that window. If the board feels like it, we might talk about perhaps some raising the sill a little bit, but I don't think that's necessary right now. I've been going over this issue of the exceptional height caused by the car lifts And I've come down on the side of the car lifts. I think it's more important to have parking than it is to worry too much about violating the height limit. So I would vote for it on that basis.
Okay, thanks.
Right here. I agree 100% with Jim on the car lifts, and approving the variance on that basis. I'm still, I like the additional screening. I think those, planning choices are a bit more what I had in mind and, versus the previous one. I'm still not crazy about the side deck. I think, like, on the one hand, I get it that now you can't really put furniture there. It's just so close to the neighbor deck, which is really their only kind of outdoor, like their primary and only outdoor area. Like, you know, I went on the neighbor's deck and it's just right there. And I think
Wait, the side deck,
side deck, that's
the little deck to enter.
that's on top of the master bathroom. That's the deck off of the JADU.
And that's being used by the neighbor, the backyard. That side yard is being used by the neighbor.
I'm sorry. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
No, it's when you're on the neighbor's deck. You know, if you turn around to walk into the house, yeah, this one. I mean, here's a picture. Here's a picture from, you know, from the neighbor's deck. It's just the I don't think the reduction in the size of the deck really changes the privacy issues and just again, and I said this before, if you have a deck out there where you do go out, the less likely you're gonna want to put like denser vegetation, which I think is just needed in between the two properties. I think I would be in favor of the project, with that coming out though, I think is where my current thought is.
Yeah, so I had a chance to get out to the site today, and similar to the other one, I missed the original application, but read the minutes. Yeah, I'm definitely in agreement on the side deck. I'm not sure if that size of a deck really adds as much as it does from a benefit that it takes away from an impact to a neighbor. And then the screening, I'm kind of a little bit, I'm in between. It sounds like two opposite views on removing versus keep. You were more on keeping side, right? The screening.
Oh, no. Sorry, I meant the planting. I was happy with the planting screening.
Oh, the
The
planting
visual
screening,
way, I'm in agreement with Jim. I think it could wait.
Okay. And then I guess the other one was the window, which you didn't comment on the window, did you?
I did not comment on the window. Continue your thoughts. And I'll think about it.
Yeah, I'm the window, I'm a little bit on the fence too, because to have a window in the home in that place and the benefits that it provides from a light standpoint, I'm not sure like kind of the privacy impact. So maybe it is what Jim suggested, maybe there's a sill height change or something like that, but I definitely not just an elimination of the window, right? Is there a potential reduction that provides a little bit of benefit, but I'm not sure numerically exactly what that would be. So yeah, I mean, all in all, I like the project. It sounds like kind of we're all leaning toward maybe some similar, it depends on what Chair Kim says.
Yeah, I know. I think the brise soleil can come out. There still needs to be an eave there, right? So we're gonna still have an overhang right there. So you're still gonna get a little bit of shadow, right? No matter what. The window, I do feel like with this tree there, you're not gonna really see anything. You can't look down. It's gonna be this massive thing. You can't really see into this person's deck. I think it's gonna take like, I don't know, like a super tall person to view it. I think the mass of the tree is it's gonna be that tree is pretty, the tree there is gonna be replaced, right? So but it's gonna be something comparable, and it's not porous right now.
I guess I should also add, I'm in agreement on the parking in that area. Having to kind of even just turn around in that area, I think having additional parking.
Yeah.
uh,
I was
that-
taken aback by that bathroom the first time. And I did appreciate that it got smaller, but I was looking at the plans. And I think there's a way to have a bathroom. You don't have to you'll lose that nice tub and lying there and seeing the view out, but it's not really a view. It's just like, I think you would have to reconfigure something with a crawl space to get a bathroom.
Do you think? I don't think I had a problem with the actual bathroom. It was more the roof deck on top of the bathroom. Because I think that's what's gonna cause the bigger privacy concern, because you're elevated and you're outside.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that elevation looks like. Is there an elevation of that little piece? Sting. Oh, I see. It is a full on deck. I misread that.
I mean, it's been reduced, but it's still
Place to walk out to.
yeah. I'm not opposed if,
But I see why they would want a full height sort of window there. Cause it's a little, the JAD, I mean, it's relying on that for light.
I think the perception of privacy is more of a problem than the actual privacy from in this particular case. I can't see somebody going out onto that deck and looking at other people very often with the trees and down the side yard. I think the screening would be, if they're planted properly, the screening would be fairly effective. And everybody, when you have lots next to each other in Tiburon, we all have privacy issues.
It's reduced significantly. I mean, it's so tiny. Would you ever really hang out there? It's not that pleasant.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's not,
It's between two buildings.
yeah.
It's kind of gonna be shady there.
I think that's kind of the reason why, just like, I don't think it's gonna reduce the utility or the value to. It's a bigger risk to have it for the neighbor than taking away from the applicant is kind of my stance, which is why I think you just get rid of it. Reduce risk.
But it is their primary. I mean, they have side windows, but that's it.
For what?
At the JADU.
Well, I wasn't,
Can you check that like this?
I don't know if you need to get rid of, like, I think you can have a window on that.
So they're clear story windows on the side.
Or just I mean, I think even just normal window. I'm not disagreeing that I think the perception of,
The perception is the issue or the reality, like, or the enticing somebody out there to hang out.
it's that. I think I think if you have just a normal sized window there, I think. It would be more of a perception of invasion of privacy, and there wouldn't be that much because you're not really like standing at the window. So I'd be fine with having just a regular window there. I don't think it has to be just like a clear story window. I think it can be a normal window.
You know, what I'm saying is that the clear stories are on this side, so. Sorry, the elevation shows it's a clear story over here on this side. The JADU, and then when you look at it from this elevation right here. This is a full piece, it's like light coming in from this area. I mean,
And what might help would be, it looks like the railing on that deck is open railing. So if you made a solid railing there, it would cut out the privacy issue dramatically. from
It's just that
inside the house.
it's more of as though there's a person there, it's 4 feet away from the. I think, isn't it 4 feet away from the property line or 8, because it's on 8 feet, still, it's like,
It's tight.
it's tight and the neighbor's primary deck is there, it's just like.
the neighbor's primary deck is on. So if I look at the elevation, the superimposed elevation, where is that?
This is a picture from the primary deck. Right.
I don't know. It's like then the neighbor could look in. That's not pleasant either.
So we're in agreement that.
So I guess it's you're of the get rid of the deck, leave a large window, right? At least somebody's not like stepping outside.
Definitely get rid of the deck. I think the large window is probably palatable. If we think that's like a required light source.
So in this elevation, here's the side deck, here's the back deck, and then here's this deck right here.
The thing is, honestly.
It's
we-
closer.
We might not be able to make any calls on the window of the JADU anyway, right? So it doesn't matter. So it's that window, once like the deck is, we're commenting on the deck, but we're not commenting on the JADU. So that I think once we get rid of the deck, whatever it is with the window is going to be up to.
Quick head nod from staff.
And we're not
Yeah.
commenting on the JADU, we're commenting the context of the deck from the JADU.
Correct. So the JDU is not subject to discretionary review, so we cannot make any comments to the JDU itself. The deck, you can make comments on because it's accessible from the primary dwelling, so you can make comments, conditions based on that, just nothing for the JDU itself.
So here's the deck right here. And then here's that deck. That's the deck, and then that's the deck. This is the side view. This is
Mhm.
superimposed of their deck, and this is that deck.
Yeah. When you go on the corner of you go on the deck?
I'm just commenting that the issue is more of this person looking into the JADU than the JADU seeing all this stuff going on this deck. Because it's just the corner that this deck can see. That's all I'm saying. Does that make sense? Because it's kind of far.
That doesn't look too far to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's-
these
we definitely come
these
down.
houses are close.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not Corinthian Island close, but they're close.
Hmm. And then there's a doorway from the hallway from the butler's pantry out into the deck as well, not only to the JADU, but
You're going to need a window on that wall just for having enough light and ventilation in that bedroom. Or it's called the living space or whatever.
have a little planted, then maybe a little planted little deck then. Close this off, have a full floor to ceiling window there, another floor to ceiling window there,
Sorry, say that again. I was looking for
a green roof.
green room.
I'm just, yeah. So that's what, I'm just saying, that's what it kind of becomes. It's just a roof to look at. And so get rid of this door, making it a full window. That's what you're saying.
Well, I don't think we can comment on the window, so it's irrelevant.
What, no, there's a hallway here. And so that access would convert to probably just a window
yeah,
there.
yeah.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, I think if you're
Yeah.
going to eliminate the deck, then you just allow for a window there.
Yeah.
And then this becomes a Juliet
You don't-
balcony.
you Can't comment on, well,
No, I mean, if they can't go out on there, so you, I mean, the deck, then you would have to,
If,
I
Yeah.
think by eliminating the deck, the
the sliders go away.
I think the sliders would just naturally go away.
Yeah. But can we comment on the window? I mean, if,
Just to clarify that I'm following, and I apologize for everybody at home who cannot see this. Are you referencing this access to the deck from the JDU and removing that? That's not something that we would.
the
be-
hallway door,
Here.
yes.
The hallway from the primary.
Yes, so it'd become, it would become, what do you call it?
A window instead of a.
Yeah.
door.
And if you get rid of the, if we don't allow for railings and you can't have, it can't be accessed, right? So,
And technically, the deck is separate from the JDU, so it does fall under discretionary review. So if you, just from a building standpoint, you can't have doors that open to nothing, so that would have to be modified.
or do you want no access, or do you want to just get rid of that entire bump out and have a redesign of the master bathroom underneath? I mean, that's to me the bigger issue. If you think that volume is just too big,
hmm,
you see what I'm saying? Then if you look at the floor plan for the bathroom, is that they're gonna have to reconfigure this whole thing, right? Probably use this crawl space if you say that there's no bump out there. There's no addition there.
that I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, the volume's not the concern.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the privacy, it's the privacy.
It's the privacy,
Yeah,
okay.
It's the, like, you look at the existing condition now of, where the homes are and the likelihood that someone's kind of hanging out right there, and then you add a deck and it becomes, clearly a new outdoor area that's very close to the neighbor. That's,
Okay,
yeah, the volume's not the issue here.
I guess my last question are we? Is there any concern on light pollution coming from? I get it that the windows are looking across the roof, but from the neighbors, I think kitchen, do we think there's gonna be light pollution?
the neighbor's kitchen, it's translucent,
Translucent, okay.
yeah, it's not clear glass.
Okay.
I don't know, now I'm like looking at this plan, like. Push this out here, you can put a bathtub here.
No.
I'm just saying that the issue here, for me, is it just privacy or is it the volume there too?
For me, it's privacy.
It's very simple privacy.
I had a problem with the volume initially. Seemed awfully close, but
If you have a breakup of the massing on that side, it's not an unreasonable thing to put a small roof in there. It'd be sloped roof or a flat roof, but I think it would. I don't think the volume is hurting the overall mass of the building. It's within the setback.
this is what it was originally. It was pretty. Yeah,
I don't think they need to redesign the bathroom to the master bath. I think they can work within it and just
okay,
change that roof. from a
okay, someone will make,
Deck to a roof and be done with it.
so we have two things, get rid of the brise soleil for now on both sides.
Yes,
What about the, I think we have to have the overhang. It's gonna be,
which overhang.
the brise soleil connects to an overhang.
Yes, but they don't need to have that. They don't need to have that. Effectively, the brise soleil is extending the wall 5 feet
Yeah,
and it just doesn't need to be extended.
okay. So those are the two conditions, get rid of the brise soleil on both sides and don't allow for occupancy of the roof over the bathroom.
And we're good with the window, right?
I'm good with the window.
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion on it.
Okay, anyone want to make a motion?
Motion to approve the project,
Accept the draft resolution.
accept the draft resolution. I didn't know it was a draft resolution. With the conditions that the brise soleil is removed on both sides and the side, there is no occupancy of or roof deck on the side above the primary bathroom. And the project is categorically exempt from SEQA.
Oh, wait, one more thing we have to discuss is the
Oh.
variance. That, can we make the findings, the 4 findings?
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I do have a question before you make your final motion, just for clarity on no occupancy. So are you saying that it needs to be modified to like a Juliet balcony? Or that it just, the deck has to be transformed into a roof?
A roof.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
And then do we need to specify anything about the
And-
door converted to a glass window in the hallway?
No, we can't. I mean, if you can't occupy it, it has to be naturally converted, yeah. It implies that, so we don't have to approach that issue, but we should make part of that motion to approve the variance as requested because we can make the 4 findings.
And we, want to repeat what you said?
I second whatever you said.
And we can approve the variance.
Okay, we'll just take a voice vote on this. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none. 4 in favor, none opposed, and 1 is absent. Next we'll hear 757 Tiburon Boulevard. The applicant has 20 minutes to present. Can we get a timer on that?
My name is Betty Lee. I'm with Team Cape Builders and I'm speaking on.
Could you hold 1 second until we get the clock up? Okay.
I'm speaking on behalf of the owners, Bente Hansen and Edwin Deere. We're resubmitting the revised plans and variants. This is in response to the feedback we received at the February 15th Design Review Board meeting. The original design had a higher roof so that the mechanical equipment could be located in the attic. The intent was to keep the original parking spaces in the front and add an addition to the rear and to the side to try to maximize the living spaces while keeping the house 1 level. Due to the feedback from the neighbors of the rear and from the design review board, we were encouraged to locate the mechanical equipment on the ground floor to keep the roof heights lower. Since there is no garage, one of the important factors is having outdoor storage space as well. The feedback we received was that it was important to lower the roof height and to try to find an alternative space for the mechanical equipment and looking at applying for a variance if we needed to locate the equipment on the ground floor. Our current design proposes a new mechanical room in a central location of the house. We feel that the revised design meets the intent of the feedback and we received and maintains the current roof height and roof pitch. Currently, a portion of the existing house is located within the rear setback by about 3 feet 6 inches due to the angled property line. So it kind of varies, which we would like to maintain for the addition and outdoor storage space. The owners have received positive feedback from the neighbors, and we feel that the proposed changes will have minimal impact on the neighboring properties, as well as on Tiburon Boulevard, while achieving the owner's desire for a 1-level home with additional living space and outdoor storage space. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Now we will open up to the public. If the public can come up and speak. Is there anyone from the audience who would like to speak? Seeing none, let's look at the queue and the Zoom queue.
There's no public comments from Zoom.
Okay, great. Applicant has an additional 5 minutes to speak, if you'd like.
I just want to acknowledge the owner's willingness to work with their neighbors and in lowering the roof height. Their intent was always to try to keep it 1 level, and the original design was at 1 level. and not propose a two-story home to maintain the water views from the rear. So I think their willingness to lower the roof so that the rear neighbors can still maintain their water level or their water view. I just like to acknowledge that, and that they are trying to maintain the front elevation at Tiburon Boulevard as well. So there's no drastic changes in the front, which I think we've achieved. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody like to make a comment? I wasn't here at the first hearing, so.
I'm happy to lead us off. So had a chance to swing out back to 757 Hawthorne to take a look at the new story poles. I definitely do appreciate the applicant not only not starting with a two-story project, but also being willing to take the comments that we had from the last meeting into consideration and redesign with what's created a variance. Looking at the four things that we have to get behind for a variance, I'm able to make the findings on all four. The practical difficulty of not having a garage and some of the storage that would have to be removed from a roof or an attic. It seems a very logical place to do the development. So all in all, very appreciative of the applicant's current proposal and very supportive of the project.
I'm in agreement. I don't have anything else to add. Just again, want to thank the applicant for the modifications and taking into the consideration from the prior meeting.
I also am in agreement, and I think the applicant has done a good job of camouflaging wherever he put the air conditioning. But I can't find it.
It's right here.
Oh, yeah.
I went to the site and understand the history of this project and the design review board. So I'm in support of it. Would someone like to make a motion?
Yes, as to 757 Tiburon Boulevard, I'd like to make a motion that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA, and that we approve the draft resolution as drafted.
Second.
Let's take a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing none opposed. Anyone opposed? No. Motion passes 4 ayes, no opposition, and 1 absentee. Next, we will move on to the next item, which is PH number 4, 2348 Mar East Street. Thanks.
Hello, my name's David Holscher. Thank you for staying so late this evening. I'm presenting a project for 2348 Mar East Street. This is a unique project for us in a sense that we're replacing a home as is, where is, but with some extremely important improvements, both structural and egress. So it's absolutely beautiful site. If you look on the slide, the proposed is to the right and the existing is to the left. It's a smaller structure compared to the ones around it. And again, we'll get into more of the detail as we move on. So this is the front elevation, or known in Mar East as the garage elevation. But to be honest with you, we have kind of a nice setup. It's 20 feet further set back than the rest of the neighborhood. So if you look, the bottom one is the proposed and the top one is the existing. And the only change is we put a straight line across the parapet there. So that's one of the few changes. And so here it is modeled yet again, and you can kind of see kind of the beautiful rambling seaside homes. And I think the main aspect and most important aspect of this is how much fenestration there is on the water side. The one on the far right is all glass, and as you move over, there is an exceptional amount of glass.
Is it possible to move the Zoom taskbar down?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's important. You want to see some of the slides. And this is what I was talking about is every residence around here basically on the street side exposes its beautiful garage or carport. And all of these are within 2 to 3 feet of the front yard line, except one. So this beautiful home is directly behind us and it was designed by Warren Callister. And we picked up on a little bit of this has an exquisite concrete base that, again, we're right next to it and we picked up on that and we'll talk about some of the beauty that it, I think, kind of evokes in the neighborhood. So this is literally the only house in our neighborhood that is not a garage. So we're going over basically variances. And so if you look in our lovely bright red chart, every single, we're just to let you know, we're the orange one. We're not having a variance. So 22 out of 23 have a floor area variance. 16 out of 23 have a lot coverage variance. 15 out of 23 have a front yard variance, which we do not have. As you saw, our garage is further back. 13 out of 23 have a right side variance. And for some reason, 16 out of 23 have a left side variance. So a lot of the houses are just closer to the left. And then the next issue we're going to go over is the existing structure. I'm going to read all the specifics of this, but to call this house derelict is being kind. So I'm going to read this because I think it's important to kind of understand what's going on here. So the large windows between the poles make up most of the east and north sides of the structure with only a few sections of solid wall. There's only one diagonal brace on the east wall that spans the 2 lower floors, but the upper 2 levels do not appear to have any bracing. And that's the picture that Rob Tysinger, who is here, took. So basically the top 2 floors have 0. I mean, it's kind of hard to imagine that, but you have like 2x4s is your dynamic stability or for earthquakes. And even I really question the diagonal with the connections. 2, the poles at one time had a protective sealant, which has deteriorated, allowing the pole to dry out and split. Several of the connections on the girders display evidence of splitting through the bolt lines. So again, you kind of cut that in half so the structural integrity is shot. And here's the one that I kind of appreciated the most, just as an architect, and I've never seen this, is to put in the stairs, they just cut 2/3 of the structural poles off to put the stairs in. And several of the poles have been notched severely at the bottom in order to install the exterior stairs, reducing the bearing capacity. That's being nice. I mean, that's a structural engineer talking. It's really just making it so it doesn't work. And same thing, there are locations where the tops of the poles have been damaged and new sections sliced in the pole with no evidence of positive tie between the 2 sections. So again, this is kind of home cooking that I still, even when it was built, I'd be surprised that this was allowed. And then, of course, you have the classic spalling. And again, and because of the salt environment, that gets bad very quick. And this is kind of my favorite photo in a way, because it shows the word dereliction in multiple methods here. That is a gutter, that is a plant growing through the concrete. And it has the feeling of honest failure. And so we show this in somewhat humor, but in honesty, this is only the issues that are visible. It's like a lot like a doctor. If we go inside, I'm sure there are no positive connections anywhere in this house. The next thing we're going to go over is the stair. I have never worked harder on a stair in my career, which I don't know means much, but it's intriguing. So the top stair is what's existing, and at worst case scenario, it's 2'3" high. It also breaks code in numerous ways. As you can see, it just goes straight down. And what it is by code, every 12 feet, you need a landing. And some obvious ones, as we all know, it has to be 3 feet wide. So that was actually a hard challenge for us to fit in a code compliant stair in this location. One of the things we had to do is pull the stairs up to the edge of the property line so we could create the first landing. It kind of makes sense. You have to shift left, but the neighbor brought that point up. And then let me go to the next one. So this is the detail that Rob Tysinger and myself worked out. And basically we're putting, there's a lot going on here. To the right, there is the stair with the legal landings every 12 feet with the railing. And we had, which is kind of strange, but this is a condominium that its space was allowed divided both horizontally and vertically. So we cannot change where those entries are. It's kind of a unique situation. So what we did in the stair is we're going to have an 8-inch concrete retaining wall with a pier going down into the rock, which is somewhere close by. We're creating basically a area underneath the stair where all the utilities go. The electrical and the sewer is already there, and we'll probably add another one for telephone because for some reason the telephone for the neighbors are all in our basement. And again, we'll work with the telephone company so that we can have a normal house, that each house has the telephone line going straight to their house. And this is basically our exterior light schedule. Pretty straightforward, all down lights, step lights. One thing we did not add, and I apologize, we're definitely going to have light switches top and bottom of the stair and at each of the landings. In fact, I think that's code. And here we go for the as is, where is. Green is existing, green is proposed. One thing we did do, big change, is we kind of squared up the entry. The garage really didn't make sense having that extra space, so we switched that one area that the floor area is removed to have a squared up entry. It didn't really make sense to kind of slide in. So that's some of the changes we did. Existing proposed, the infill is different. Some of the glazing is different. Exact same size. Same thing, we're going down. Infill is different. We're just, again, we're moving the plan a little bit just for our clients' needs. And same thing, the lowest level. And so here we go. It's much clearer to the right. There's existing, there's proposed, like pretty similar. Side view, the dark shingles, we're using glass railings instead of the 36 derelict railings now. And again, you can see the concrete base, and one of the main reasons we're using the concrete base too is so that we can maintain that 3 foot easily for the stairs. Because if you look at a typical house, you'd have plywood, you'd have shingles, and all of a sudden you're 2.5 to 3 inches inside the 3.0. We had exactly, when I went back to that, like we're down to the 1/2 inch on this situation. Other side. Again, it's. And then basically the water side. The existing glazing is 18% for the entire structure, which is relatively low. And the proposed is 21.2%. And what we did in the glazing is we pulled it down. If you look at the garage, it had all sorts of big windows. We brought the glazing down just so it's not, I don't know, I think it's less massive in a way than bringing the glazing down and making a little solid on the top. And this is our materials: wood slats, board form concrete, tempered glass, black metal, and black aluminum clad sliding doors. And our neighbor wanted wood treads. We're putting in some thickened wood treads that has the ability to move and take on individually, which is very important for the construction cycle. So the hardest part, we're going to have to work very hard as a team, is working with the lower neighbor to revise the stairs. Because we have to be a team. We have to work together. We've created a method in which we can do it like piece by piece. There's no monolithic pours, but since it's the only way down, we have to be a team, and our contractor's going to have to know it. The lovely neighbor's going to have to work with us. So in other words, we have to maintain egress whenever they're there. And that is a known. And so we've been working with contractors on the ability to just have temporary stairs and have the new replace the temporary as you move on. But this is not, I don't want to over exaggerate, but we do have to work as a team, and we have to have creative solutions because we are putting in something new that is different than old. And, we have a lot of discussions with contractors on how the means and methods would work, but unfortunately, I'm just the architect. So now, some beautiful letters. I'm only going to read a few of them, but what I was impressed with my clients is just how outgoing they were, and they talked to everybody. And I'm just going to read a few of these. In fact, my last one is a zinger, so you can wait for that beauty. Basically, this is from Barry and Jane Moss. A proposal of this kind does not impede any existing views or sidelines from neighboring properties, and we are pleased that they have taken great care in preserving the current landscape of Mar East. We wish to extend our full support to Manny and Liz. This is from Guy Chambers. I believe the applicant's proposal to simply remove what's currently there and place it with the new residence is both reasonable and prudent. I'm in full and complete support of their proposal. This is from Ingrid Chilton. The existing structure barely stands. A complete replacement is required. We are happy to support Manny and Elizabeth's demolition and new concern project, which can only improve the value of the homes in this neighborhood. This is from James Lavelle, who was on the design review a few years ago, and he says, we have studied their plans and demolition to current structure and place with a tasteful new structure that meets all current codes to be both necessary and appropriately designed. Barbara and I give our wholehearted support to the application for new construction at 2348 Mar East Street and owners Manny Tandy and Elizabeth Goodrich. Let me skip a few. Okay, this is my favorite just because there's comedy. This is from Nancy Friedman, who lives right across. They have the large condo that is basically due west of them. The property not only became an eyesore in an otherwise beautiful neighborhood of well-maintained homes, but when the wind blew, parts of the exterior often came flying by, exposed nails and all. The essence of life safety concern. So that was a direct neighbor. So when storms come, it kind of sheds. And her final paragraph, which is extremely well written, I sincerely hope that whichever boards employees review and consider this plan renovation, they will do so understanding that this project is necessary and will benefit not only the owners, but the larger Tiburon community as well. Period. Please get this done. I like that one. So there it is. Hopefully in a couple years, that's the new beautiful home overlooking one of my favorite spots in the world, Raccoon Straits.
Thank you. Do you have any other comments? No.
Not yet.
Any questions from the board to the applicant or?
No.
Okay. This time, we'll open up the floor to any, anybody from the public to make any comments. Please state your name and your address, please. Thank you.
I'm Jim Coggin. I live at 2.
Please come to the, sorry, yeah,
I have to sit down.
yes.
My name is Jim Coggin. I live at 2350, the lower of the condominium of this property. I don't think I've heard anyone comment that this is a condominium situation, implying that there needs to be some communication and some give and take between the various parties. That really hasn't happened to the degree that all these improvements are indicated. But that as it be, we've lived there for 50 years and we intend to live there another 50 years. But anyway, we've enjoyed getting to know Manny and Liz, and we're happy to have them as neighbors. So we'd like more than anything to see the improvements that have been discussed. There are some variations that I think that should be considered. Number one, we want to be sure that we have access, particularly on the stairway, in such a way that we can add a mechanical chairlift, which in all probability we'll need in the not too distant future. I'm not sure if the existing design gives us this sufficient width of stairway to accommodate that. So we'd like to look into that in greater detail. The other concern that we have is I'm not sure how this is actually going to get pulled off. Dave mentioned that there's got to be a lot of cooperation, give and take and so forth. I don't know exactly what he means by that. Now, as far as the interior is concerned, we have no concerns about what they have planned. There are a few external aspects, starting from the top. Dave mentioned that they're going to even out the parapet across the roof. What he didn't say is that involves raising the roof about 2 feet. On the other hand, I think it would be beneficial to the neighborhood if the roof could be lowered a couple 2 feet. I don't think they need the height of the garage space inside. So that's just a suggestion. I think the neighborhood would benefit from having that roof a little lower and a little less massive area. The decks have gotten a little bit bigger, and we again would encourage them to scale down on those decks to improve separation and privacy. So in summary, I think there's a lot of things that we need to talk about.
Thank you so much for your comments.
Okay.
Is there anyone else from the public who'd like to speak? Please come forward.
I'm Kate Benedictson. I'm here for Kathy Benedictson, my mom, who's the downstairs side neighbor at 2352. She is unable to come tonight because she's disabled and housebound at the moment. There's a couple concerns, just echoing what Jim said about the the need for cooperation. You know, she's not in the condominium, but the stairs run right adjacent to the tram that she has to get access to her house, which is the only way that she can get in and out of her home is this, you know, she has an ADA letter for it. It's a mobility thing. And the pier or the support piling that they have in the drawings is really, really close to the structural elements that support that tram. And that rock is not as solid as you might think. It's in that hillside's a lot of serpentine and other things. It's crumbly. And I was frankly a little disappointed not to see the drawings of where the tram is. Like my family's property is not really reflected, and it's hard to see from the drawings because it's not in there. And it's a really important element because it's right, you know, right there, next to the stairs. And you know, and I do also agree with Jim about the height. My mom does as well, the height of the garage. I think lowering it would be beneficial to the whole neighborhood, although that is not a health and safety concern for us, but that is, you know, the garage, the way that it's drawn up right now, the rest of it is lovely. Again, no issues with the inside. We're very fond of Liz and Manny, want them to have a happy, wonderful home, and glad that this one is getting renovated or new construction. But the threat to the tram is a big concern. And my mom suggested that, you know, the whole thing just be moved over. There's 2 feet on the other side of the property that could be utilized. And, you know, just throwing that out there. I'm no architect, no architect, but anything that could possibly threaten the stability and the structural integrity of that tram is I think paramount in my family's mind. And there should be a letter that she sent. I don't know if you guys have a copy of that. You do. Okay. Did I need to run through any of the rest of the points? I think those were the main ones that I wanted to raise, but do I need to raise those other ones in voice, or have you guys had a chance to look at that?
I think we received those in time. So yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. That's all.
Is there anyone else from the audience who would like to speak? Thank you. Please come forward and state your name and address. Thanks.
I'm Kim Coggan, and I also live at 2350, the lower unit to the 2348. And I just want to speak about the stair issue because it is the one aspect of our condominium that is common property. And we have not to date come to a consensus about what's to be done about the stairs and I just have a few specific concerns. The existing ones are 37 inches. I think the planned ones also are. I frankly cannot carry 2 bags of groceries down without like turning sideways to go down the stairs. So I just think the safest rebuild is going to be safest for everybody. The site plan eliminates the landing at the top of the street, which we have used for the past 50 years. Either put groceries on so we make a second trip, or if we're going somewhere, maybe bring our suitcases up. The height of the stair rises varies from 7 inches, 7.5, 7 5/8. And I think that sort of transition in the height of the rise is just asking for a stumble. The other thing I didn't notice, if the clearance over a step in the lower deck is the 6 foot 8 inches that's required by code. I didn't measure it. And there's a small rendering of the stair foundation with poles and a rat ramp. The foundation for the stairs should be best put, I think Kate brought this up, and also I appreciate that you brought up working as a team to do this. It should be along the property line to stabilize both our stairs and Kathy's property next door. You covered the light switches, and I think that maybe railings on both sides should be, would guarantee more safety. So that's it.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Is there someone else from the audience who'd like to speak? Thank you.
Jeff, live at 83 St. Thomas Way. I think this is a really exciting project. I love that coastline. I've been back and forth in front of it millions of times on a boat. Most of those homes along there are real jewel boxes. They've already been renovated the way Liz and Manny Tandy want to renovate theirs. There are still some eyesores though, like this one. And redoing it is just going to add to the beautification of that coastline. It's going to be amazing. I'm probably telling you guys things you already know, so nothing or shocking here, but it should be amazing for all the neighbors around it and much safer for the neighbors below it. And I think when people like Liz and Manny are willing to take on a project like this and bear the cost of it, that's I take my hat off to them. I think that's really helpful for the entire community, and that whole street will be very grateful. So obviously incredibly in favor of it. I wasn't going to speak to any technical issues, but I've been up and down those stairs on the side of the house many, many times. I'm a pretty wide guy, pretty broad shoulders. I don't turn sideways. I have no problem going up and down the steps. So, but you guys will check all that out. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Each speaker gets 3 minutes. Apologize. Is there anyone else from the audience who'd like to speak? Thank you.
My name is Guy Chambers. I live at 2398, just a few doors north of the project site. I think I'm a retired architect. I think I'd like to keep my comments as brief as possible. It seems to me that the community is being offered basically a brand new house replacing a derelict house. I personally don't see how this is something that the community or this design review board can resist. It's an opportunity to have a code compliant building where we have a structure that I personally viewed prior to reading the Tysinger report. And I think the Tysinger report confirms what I visually saw, which is a house that I personally believe is a potential hazard. Whatever can be done at this point to approve this project as quickly as possible, I think is prudent. I think the fact that they've come in here and not tried to expand in any great way, but simply said we will simply replace in kind with a new structure, I think is commendable beyond words. I think that this whole issue about the parapet is a trivial thing. It could go one way or the other. I don't personally see how it impacts anyone at all. I appreciate the comments about the elevator that Kathy has to use, and that's basically a construction means and methods thing. The contractor is the one that will be responsible for ensuring that Kathy's elevator is maintained and operable at all times. And I think that all these things and the notion that people have to work together, I think is quite true. It's not going to be a simple thing to get this house demolished and rebuilt, but I think the owner and the architect and the contractor will all be fully aware of the fact that they have to maintain access for the people that reside at the lower elevation. Beyond that, I see absolutely no reason at all not to approve it tonight as proposed.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the audience who would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Jim Lavelle. I resided in Tiburon for the better part of the past 42 years. For 4 years, between 1990 and 1994, I was a member of the Tiburon Design Review Board, and 3 years as chairman. Concurrently, I served as the president of the Lyford Cove Old Tiburon Homeowners Association. We presently reside at 2485 Mar East Street. But for 4 years, between 2018 and 2023, we resided at 2346 Mar East Street, immediately next door to 2350 and 2348. So we know these properties exceedingly well. We know the neighbors exceedingly well. And I know the process of design review and planning exceedingly well. This project is exceedingly well suited to this site at this time, on the same footprint, without any impediment to any other property owner. Their design, their glazing is all appropriate to the site. The other condominium owner is forward on the lot toward the bay, and their orientation is entirely the bay, although their access and egress, as has been stated, is on the stairway that Mr. Holcher showed you on the graphics. The stairway that's being proposed is at code and is a vast improvement to what's been there for the past 50 years. That being the case, I also want to share that over the period of time that I participated on the Design Review Board and reviewed dozens and dozens of applications, neighbors' concerns and considerations were always highly regarded and considered. But at the same time, they had to be considered and weighed against the viability of the project and the impacts to the project of the neighbors' greatest concerns. Now, in this case, I know that the applicant for the past 6 or 7 months has solicited input from all the neighbors consistently and outwardly. And to the extent that, and again, I've seen this many times before, at the last minute, there are comments, derogatory comments about the project, when the comments could have been resolved or addressed months and months before the project comes before the board, in my opinion, is somewhat disingenuous. I do agree with Mr. Holger that people working together accomplish far, far more than they do when they're working in opposition to each other. Yes, I know I'm at 3 minutes, but I am long-winded. I apologize. I'm almost finished. Thank you very much for the opportunity to provide you with my comments. I think it's a terrific project and it should be approved as submitted. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there somebody else from the audience who would like to speak? Seeing none, we will move to the online audience.
Chair Kim, I'm going to turn on the audio for Katie Black.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Please state
Great.
your name and your address. Thank you.
My name is Katie Black, and I am the owner of 2346 Mar East Street. We are the lower unit neighbor to the west side of the applicant. Further to my letter of support submitted with the owner's application, I just want to reiterate a couple of things. The design and the proposed construction addresses all of the structural deficiencies that concern us living next door, and the safety not only for Manny and Liz, but also our family. We've seen a number of significant storms hit Maurice the past 2 winters since living there, and their house is just simply not equipped. I have also personally witnessed the homeowners' consistent efforts to communicate with us, our neighbors, and the Mar East Street community about this project to satisfy the needs of many people who will be affected with these improvements. We have no objections and offer our full support to Manny and Liz and ask the board to approve this project.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else from the audio, the Zoom queue?
Chair Kim, there are no more hands raised on Zoom audience.
Thank you. At this time, we open it up to the applicant and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. I think the main issue we're gonna go over is the infamous stairs. Now, I don't know how to backtrack this, but we're going to our famous detail. Oh, here we go. So, stair section. To the right, you can see the property line in the, basically lines up with the drill paired edge. And to the right is basically a failed wood wall that we've worked arduously to make the new concrete wall support the failed wood wall of the tram next door. In fact, the that wood wall in some of the survey is 6, 7, and 8 inches over. We are going to have to move it and then support it with our own wall. So not only are we going to not disturb it, we are actually going to make it far better structurally. And I think that's extremely important. And that's why I was saying when my somewhat facetious quote was, I've never worked on a stair so hard. But the fact of the matter is we're working to strengthen that, and they're right on the property line. It's failed and gone over. And using concrete and drill piers is obviously going to hold up a failed railroad tie wall. Again, we're making it as wide as we can, code legal, easy to access underneath, wood stairs like the neighbor wanted. It for design review was a lot of work just to kind of begin what I'm talking about, the community effort, so we can put this together and they can have a very safe up and down for the rest of their lives at their beautiful home below. Any more questions?
I have 2 questions. The first is, it appears from your drawings that the top of the top of the roof is in line with the existing. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
So there's no change in height. Just want to confirm that that's what it showed on the drawings, but
Yeah,
just wanted
that's
to confirm
changed.
that.
Yeah. That
Okay.
we also, I mean, though you can't bring it up, I'll bring it up. It's also hiding the solar panels, which you can't bring it up, but I brought it up.
I did have another question and I forgot it. So would anybody else like to ask a question?
Yeah, just a couple questions. One was, what was the ceiling height of the garage?
It's not much. It's like,
It looked like it was like 10.8 from the bottom of the floor to the top of the roof. But
Yeah, I
just
was gonna
wanted to-
say-
yeah, it's like, it looks like a 9 foot.
9 feet. Yeah,
Okay.
it's 9 feet.
All right. And then the other question I have was, the stairs, again, just to reiterate, they are code compliant as it relates to landings,
Yes.
rises,
Runs,
widths,
and-
handrails.
Right. All of that. And more importantly,
You guys, we want to include a couple comments in the rest of our 5 minutes.
Okay.
So
Yeah. We'll give you more. Yeah.
we've got their
Right, they're asking.
I think we started asking questions at like 2 or 3 minutes. So
Yes,
yeah.
we have 3 minutes afterwards.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, great, good, yeah. So
And then, all right, so that's the garage. And then the other one was, there was some mention of, light switches.
right, it's just top and bottom, and at each landing, you need a light switch to turn the lights on as you go downstairs. The stairs are going to be illuminated far better than they are now.
And that's in the plans, right?
That's in the plans, yes.
And then one more thing was, it seems like you were playing with like fractions of inches on the stair side, and there was some mention, and it looked like just a small amount of.
Well,
of
that's
property on the
per
side.
code, so that's a kind, what it is, each 12-foot rise has to be the same, plus or minus a 1/16 of an inch. But the rises themselves can vary by the varying we did, so that our landings line up with
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was more a question of the stair. You were playing with a lot with the stairs on that side of the house, and it seemed like maybe there's a little bit more property on the other side of the house. And was
No,
that-
no,
okay,
there's
there was some mention of-
basically when you go up, our neighbor has their hill elevator touching our property on that side. Because if we had 4 feet, that would be the world's, we thought of this day one, that'd be the most perfect egress during construction that one has thought of, but unfortunately their hill elevator touches our driveway.
I remember my questions. The first was a landing. The landing is removed. Can you have the first step? It looks like the tread is inboard from the property line. What is the rule about the beginning of steps? I don't know the code.
It's 3 foot square flat. So that it doesn't need to be on your property.
It doesn't need to be on your property as long as there is a landing
It's
that's.
3
that's-
clear, 3 feet clear.
Okay.
yes.
The second is the handrails. So there's one, it looks like there's one designed, is that right, on one side? What,
Right.
and you can have two, you can have on either side, but it can go into the three.
It
the
goes into 3 feet. So
pitch.
this isn't a conundrum, but it's a conundrum in a sense that we're trying to keeping it wide as possible. Code is one side, and when you go 2, that's going to take 2.5 inches off of the width. We're willing to do that, but again, it's, do you want the 2.5 inches off? And I'm not going to go versus having it just on one side.
Sure. I have a question for council. I have a couple of things. The first is, how does design review deal with common area design? How can we, are we allowed to talk about that? And how are we supposed to, what's our starting point? Like, do we take that as a given that it's common space and it's been
Right.
articulated between the two, that is what they're presenting to us?
Yeah, so we need to look into this. So I, as I got up to speed here, I don't have the answer for that. And I was looking at the map and trying to figure out, what are the terms of, is it like a common HOA area? Is it a restricted common area? I don't know what the terms of this common area are, and there are rules of what we can do with those areas when you as the board.
Yeah,
So,
because
yeah.
it seems to me that we can't comment on a design of a common area if there is no agreement between them.
Well, I would need to confirm that, but I think
Okay.
there are issues here that are raised that I realize throughout, that we need to look into, because I don't have the answer to that
Okay.
today.
And then just for the audience's edification, I just want to clarify, the design review board's purview is never to comment on construction means and methods. So we cannot comment on that. The second thing that we cannot comment is survey. We take those as given, and that isn't just beyond our discretion to even comment on that. I just want to clarify that we cannot comment on those two issues. So, yeah. Any other questions from the board, comments or clarification?
I have a question of the applicant. Did you look at more fenestration on the garage level? And why did you choose to make the garage a completely opaque cube?
We moved because we want to keep our fenestration numbers the same. We brought the extra fenestration down to the main living areas. And we
The garage is not habitable space, so it doesn't count.
it doesn't fenestration calcs. Okay.
I believe so.
Team? I think, well, we did. So all we did is, so I apologize, but we did, we wanted a balanced fenestration between the two, so we weren't asking for a change. So that was why. And we were looking for having the garage just be a poetic solid and then having the concrete and glass be kind of the main living area. And we started with that premise day one. And I really kind of appreciate that aesthetic tremendously.
Okay, thank you. If there's no more comments, you would like to not yield your time and continue your time? So. And at the end, I'd like better clarification on what we can actually review, given that we can't really review HOA area, if that's correct.
I would need to confirm. I believe that is correct. I haven't looked into that. I don't know how much of the plans are common, common areas and not. You might speak to specifically what they could review, or one of the planners can speak to that. But legally, I have some concerns just about what, I don't know the terms of the shared common space here. I don't know who can do what, where, and how. So I just can't speak to it, but I don't know, Savannah or Sam, if you guys have.
I would presume there is some CCNR document.
Exactly,
that
and I
you have
haven't
to
looked at
review.
it. Exactly. Yeah.
Sorry, please go ahead.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Design Review Board. My name is Len Rifkind Law and Mediation, and attached to your staff report is the condominium plan that shows exactly where the common area is and where the building envelopes are. I think it's around it's 60 some page, and it's in the 60s, like say pages 62 to 64 of the staff report on the PDF. And specifically, it shows a 3-foot stair. And so, as you've heard over and over again tonight, you're getting an old building that has pieces blowing in a storm, and you're getting a beautiful new building. And the condominium plan shows 3 feet for the stairs. And that's what you're getting. You're actually getting a 3-foot 1-inch stair back to code with a handrail that's safe. Now, you heard the neighbor say, oh, I want some sort of chairlift or something like that. That he asked, he said, because it's understandable. They're reaching senior years and they may need help on the stairs, but that isn't what's before the council Design Review Board tonight. What's before the board tonight is the plan that's been presented. And if these two private parties one day decide that they want to upgrade the stairs in some manner, they certainly can do that and then seek a building permit and project. But for this Design Review Board tonight is the plan that's been presented. It's replacing an old rickety set of stairs with a code compliant set of stairs, consistent with the condominium plan map that's attached to your staff report. And I'll take any questions that you may have or respond to the deputy town council if she would like to.
So I understand there's a condo map and there's a subdivision that's been created for that. What I don't understand is does there need to be an agreement between the parties that do CCNRs require agreement of a design before we can go and look at that portion of the design?
I can answer that question.
Okay.
You would think that that might be the case when you had a robust set of CCNRs. Here you have some diagrams. This was done in 1972. There's some definitions of the units, but there's no design review committee, architectural review committee, that sort of thing that you might commonly see in a robust set of CCNRs. So here, what you have is on the condominium plan, a specific location for stairs 3 feet wide, and that is precisely what you're getting. Again, the same exact thing that's already in place, only better and to code.
Do the CCNRs provide any dispute resolution or agreement requirement or anything?
No, there's
Okay.
no, all the things, Madam Chair, that you're asking about that are normally in a more modern set of CCNRs are not here. This is very, and you can look in your staff report and you'll see it. It's at the very back, attachment 11 or 12, right around that area. Nothing. It just shows the diagrams done by Houle and Lockett, very famous surveyors that have been in this county forever. No, they're not with us any longer, but they're the ones who did the survey, and a description of what a unit is. And so I don't have a design review committee, dispute resolution, all of that.
Would council advise that we divide the project into two and
I would just first say that
separately-
the town doesn't enforce CCNRs, so that's out of
Okay.
our purview. So this is why I would need to talk and figure out what's going on here. As for dividing the project, what do you mean?
So I
the
mean, like, when we
stairs
look
and-
at, when we look at this design, what is resolution? What are we approving? Are we approving the building within the footprint of that subdivision? And then we look at the stairs as a separate item to separate the resolution into? Like, I don't know what we're supposed to approve.
Well, I agree with what council just said, that certainly no, this town or the city does not enforce private set of CCNRs. Those are enforced by the parties to the document. But what's I understand your quandary and what you're trying to get at. And namely is we understand the house. So what can we do with the set of stairs? Can we approve those? Do we have authority? And my answer to you is the project this applicant has an absolute right to use those stairs. The stairs are a danger, and you're getting code compliant stairs in the same exact location as they exist, only code compliant. So I don't think it's a hard reach to say that you can do that. No one's objecting to that. The only thing that you heard tonight was that maybe they want to do an upgrade one day in the future. That's not before this board tonight.
That is not before the board tonight, but because it is a shared space, I just don't know the terms of that, and I hadn't read the CCNRs, not that we enforce them, that's why I don't normally read them. As for separating the project, it's up to you how you want to do that. It's at your discretion. You have the choice to decide to separate it if you want. You can also continue until we have more solid answers on what the discretion of the board here in terms of the shared space and what is required of the shared spaces. So it's up to you how you want to move forward. For us, I would like to look into this more, the shared space, the shared access property, and we'll talk to, their council and arrive at a resolution there. So that's but it's up to you how you want to move forward with evaluating the project.
Personally, I feel I want to get your blessing, but I feel like we could definitely consider the resolution. I feel safe that we can consider the building. Could we continue just the stairs?
But I think that this is probably something for the board to discuss after we've closed the public
You
hearing.
think?
right?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
May I briefly be heard on that? On that discussion about this continuance or separation? Can I be briefly heard on that point? I still
No,
have
I-
a minute 14 on my own time.
Sure.
Chair's decision.
Yes, please use your time to talk about this. Yes.
Yeah, there's no basis whatsoever to be continuing or separating or going off on about stairs because we're doing something in the common area that belongs, yes, to both parties, but this applicant has presented these plans. They've been vetted. The condo map is a recorded document that's been in place since 1972. This is not a secret. This is record notice to the world. Everyone understands that. We have an absolute right to repair and replace what's existing in place. And that's all that's happening here. So, and council here certainly we're talking 4 pages, most of them pictures, can be literally viewed in less than 5 minutes. I would urge this board not to continue or separate this. This is something that can easily be determined tonight. I mean, I don't think there's even a design issue when we're talking about stairs that are to code that are replacing existing set. That's not even a design issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. At this time, we will close the test. Oh, yeah.
Applicant
Okay.
for David. I, just out of curiosity, from a code perspective, if whether now in the future, there was an addition of a, I don't know what they're called, elevator?
Yeah.
Elevator. Does that change the code requirements for the stairs, or do they fit within a 36-inch width?
No, this is my understanding, not a elevator expert. It cannot stay within the 36 inches. You still need to have a clear means of egress up and down all the time. So if that did occur, it would have to wrap around the corner and not be within the 36 inches.
Okay.
It cannot live there.
Okay.
So that's the only code requirement. I think the rest is how you designed it.
Okay, thank you.
Have you considered a design that could accommodate some kind of, doesn't have to be a elevator, but some kind of a lift mechanism as an alternative? I'm not sure how it would even look if it would go into private property. I don't even know how it would work.
We did not.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, I don't want to have used conjecture at this because this is obviously getting pretty cut and dry. We'd have to hire somebody who knows where all the elements need to be. And we did not do that process.
Okay, that's fair enough. Thank you. At this time, we will close the public to the hearing, to the public and deliberate amongst ourselves. Here is my concern. In council, maybe I'm being too risk averse. I just don't want to be in a position where we're voting on a design for something where we didn't even have legitimate.
Yeah, I personally don't have the concern. I mean, it crossed my mind as it was being presented, and I think that we generally, as the design review board and not a legal, body that makes decisions and reads, CC&R documents to determine if someone has the right to do it. We generally depend on applications to present us with something that they're legally entitled to do. There was a multifamily on Lyford and, that was redoing a whole space, and we just assumed that they had kind of the right to be able to do that. And if they didn't, then it usually gets sorted out in the court system of, people saying, hey, you weren't, allowed to do that. And I think generally people that are presenting an application that has, a stairs that's replacing existing, has the.
Okay, so we
So-
presume that it's been approved, or that any private parties had already agreed to the design and we don't have to be party to it because we're agnostic as to who's presenting it.
Yeah, I mean, the other, again, I think it's left up to the other members of the, I'm not a lawyer, but it's left up to the other members of the condo complex to sue the person who ripped out a bunch of old stairs and put in a beautiful new set of stairs. Like, I just, again, I think they have a difficult time proving damages on, this beautiful new set of stairs that have gone in.
Okay.
So,
This is one of the most basic things in building law is 3 feet egress stairs.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
so
yeah.
I can't see any reason why we're even discussing it. This issue is moot. It just, you build an egress stair because it's required by law and required by firemen. That's simple.
I would say if maybe there was the plans or the proposal were like adding width to the existing building to then not allow it to, potentially facilitate the
The
elevator.
department wouldn't approve it.
Oh, no, but I'm saying from us like deliberating on the project, the building envelope is not changing. Therefore, there have to be the required stairs as is right now. So it's not the situation where we're making a judgment on a design that changes an option of a hill elevator. The stairs are there now, they're at the limit. And the building's not changing, so that's kind of why I feel also comfortable going, evaluating the project as is. That makes sense, because the building envelope's not changing. They need 3-foot stairs by code, and they're 3-foot stairs by code. So it's not like anything from the building proposal is impacting the stairs.
I mean, the building is within the property line within their subdivision, and the stairs are within their subdivision. And if we feel comfortable that each of those elements are in their own property line or subdivision line, then I mean,
We
yeah.
have a survey on the back page here that shows that it is within its property.
I personally think we're spending way too long. If there's an application and someone's like, part of their application involves like putting in a new like sidewalk, and the sidewalk happens to be on town property, as long as the sidewalk's built to code, like it just doesn't end up surfacing as an issue.
Okay, I mean, I just want to make sure, because if the building line is on the building line, is on the subdivision line, there's no proposal to push the building into the subdivision. There's no proposal. It could go the other way, but the building is not going into common property. So we're just taking it as given. So I had to think that through. But let's just move on then. Sorry for pissing you guys off. But like, I think we have to think about this,
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock and my first meeting was at 7 o'clock this morning. So, yeah, so I'd love to start if that's okay.
Sure.
I've seen a lot of Holscher projects over the years. This by far is my absolute favorite. Like, I mean, it's just an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous home. The way that the bottom is anchored in the concrete, the way the top looks, it reminds me of some of the modern like high rises now that have like that open space in the middle of it, just the way it's set in, and it has all the glass in the center. So so yeah, it's the fact that it's also using the existing footprint. It's dramatically improving a home that's clearly in great need of repair. I think it's going to be something that construction is never easy for anyone. It will be a long process, but when it's done, it will be not only a beautiful home, but I think it'll dramatically improve the stair situation that's there now. So all in all, I don't think that the concern as far as the top goes on the design of the front edge, the height of the garage ceilings. Every day I wish I had 1 more foot of ceiling garage space for storage. So like it's almost with almost out any comment or desire to put anything as far as the condition. It's a really well thought out and beautiful project. So it's got my full 100% support as is.
I'm gonna go next. I think it's just fine. I don't think there's any need for me to comment. I'm ready to approve it as is. So without any design changes. And I think the fact that this building could fall and destroy the buildings around it should be of paramount concern to the surrounding buildings. So
I'll echo both of your comments and keep it brief.
Jim?
I like the design. I think the applicant is doing something that's unique, which is to tear down a building and build exactly the same building again. That's pretty rare, at least in Tiburon. I have only one problem with it, and it's not a huge one, but it's an aesthetic one. We're here for design review. One of the things that Maurice needs most is a gift to the street with an occasional vista poked through to see the ocean. And in this particular part of Maurice, it's extremely rare, and you're making it rarer. I wish there had been some transparency proposed either at the garage door or something so that you could see through a corner of the building as you went by it. You have 3 or 4 windows on the back side of it, but you have nothing on the front side. So your cars are going to get a great view of the ocean, but I'd rather it was given to the street. So other than that, I think it's a handsome building and the first fireproof building on Maurice, if I'm not mistaken. I would approve it as is, but I would urge the applicant to look at the transparency of the mass of the garage. I think you'd make a better project out of it.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
I would, and we have a draft resolution, correct?
Yes.
So as to 2348 Mar East Street, I move that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA and that we approve the draft resolution as drafted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing none opposed, the motion passes for 4 ayes, 0 oppositions, and 1 absentee. The meeting is hereby closed. Thanks.